Hey everyone, and welcome to F4 Obsessed, a deep dive, a weekly show where we discuss F4 Thailand from a symbolic and meta perspective. I'm Ty, your host, and my co-host is Marie Claire, who I call MC. Say hi, MC.
What is this show?
We're just like endlessly going to be screaming that for like
I
the
was just
rest
hoping to
of the
get
time.
I was just hoping to get it out of my system so I'm not just shouting it out randomly as we approach like these key moments or these things that happen. And sometimes it's just like subtle stuff in the background and you're like, why
Yeah.
show? Why?
What is the show? Yeah, a lot of us were screaming that today on Twitter. I had a live watch with some people, and in our chat we were saying it. Like it was crazy episode. So let's do our weekly stuff before we get into episode 14, the chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
First things first. So these comments are obviously from last week, episode 13. Glowcar said, after all the criticism about the kiss last week and all the talk about Tom being hit by Gorya the week before, I've been pondering what it is exactly that is making some people dissatisfied with the portrayal of the main couple and of Tom in particular. I don't claim to be a mind reader, but what I'm suspecting is that Tom looking somewhat pathetic after being kicked in the nuts, or Tom giving a delicate first kiss to Gorya instead of a steamy one, does not align with the masculinity often found in the male lead in other Hana Yori Dango iterations. In those versions, the male lead often teases the female lead and or pushes her against the wall and forces a first kiss on her. I did enjoy all those male leads, but unlike some, I'm enjoying Tom not being so macho. It's not the first time I've noticed romance audiences not warming up to these kinds of archetypal male leads when shown in a pathetic light or when they are made the butt of the joke. It is interesting how our subconscious clings to a certain type of masculinity and finds it hard to get used to a less aggressive version of it. I would argue that this is the reason why beta male leads such as Namdo-san in Startup or Seongyeon in Run On confuse audiences so much.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is like an anti-patriarchal telling of Hana Yori Dango. And so it's going to have a lead as he transforms and is more in touch with his emotions. The violence has to go away because, as Bell Hooks would remind us, the language of domination and love cannot exist. It's a lie to say that these things can exist. That doesn't mean that like you can't be rougher if that like that's your thing, right? In
Yeah.
kissing. But it's not the way that this character Tom wants to show his love towards Gorya, and it's completely in character that he is softer because he's finally in touch with his emotions.
Right. There's a contradiction that's happening here a little bit, right? Because like we expect this character to be more aggressive. In every version, there is a moment in which he is aggressive, and then there's growth, and then we see him really, he's just this virginal, innocent kind of, he's not, he's kind of harmless as he develops, as you kind of take off those layers of aggression and dominance. That's in every version. It just happens to be that like in this version, Tom, we have first of all, there's the time factor. There's like we have less time to explore the character, but then there's also the factor of like he's more intimate with her from the very beginning. Like he's more in her face in the beginning, and she pushes him and they push each other like physically, that I think that a lot of people just sort of expected there to be more physicality in their relationship upon the first kiss, and that's not, because again, like I said before, this is like a contradiction. It's a fun contradiction. It's supposed to be like yes, Tom is all powerful and all confident and really physical, and they're physical with each other. However, they're really just innocent and they're really just, you know, this is their first kiss, and we're supposed to take some kind of delight in that.
Yeah.
I think.
I also think that like when their first kiss happens in their journeys, like he's brand new from a psychology perspective. He is rebuilding his ego. And so like absolutely does not want to become the old him. That's also like really key. And we're not quite at his point in his journey where he becomes the master of life and death. Like that's actually like a really important step. And also from an anti-patriarchal storytelling perspective, knowing when violence is required versus not violence is part of the journey. Right. You become wise enough to know when you need to fight versus not.
Right. Yeah. He will become someone that can like scoop her up and like kiss her super romantically, like eventually, but he's not.
And be like the sexual aggressor. Like that's what people are like wanting, but like he's actually not there psychologically in as a character. So he's innocent. And so we have to recognize that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. The next comment is PJJK. I love the fact that Hanning and Gowan's journey is acknowledged by the rest of the F4. The show really shows how close they are as a group. In other versions, they just left their friends to go on their own devices. Like, come on, aren't you supposed to be tight? Yeah, I love this about this version. It's like, everybody is in everybody else's business because they're all kind of like a family and they care about each other. And so that's why it's so disconcerting when one of them is like, I'm going to be off on my own, like Gorya throughout the season or Tom in this particular episode.
Yeah, exactly. They're very much, they're tight. And I like the fact that, you know, Hanning is kind of like a part of the group and she is pulled along in a lot of ways. A lot of people have talked about the fact that I've read some comments, man, about how this show should be called the F4 Thailand. Like it should be called F4. It should, you know, should have a different name because it's leaving out Gorya. And we've talked about this before about how this story is essentially Gorya's story still. It's still the female lead's story. It's just being told through the lens of these four guys and how these four guys are affecting her and how she's affecting the four of them. But then also they're bringing Hanning along on this journey, which is just extra special. So if you think that this is just about the F4, then you're not watching the same show.
Yeah, and explicitly in the symbolism, the kingdom that they manage / control fairy tale wise is F4.
Yeah.
It's like their banner and their crest and their flag and what they're building towards for themselves. So it's more of a tale of like a
transformation.
Country. Yeah, and a country. Like that's what I was trying to say.
That's true.
You know?
So the flag, the flag of the F4 and what they stand for. We talked about this last episode about like the transformation of symbols and how they evolve over time and they take on different meanings. The F4 as a kingdom, that the kingdom that they roll over, like that's going to transform and that's going to be something new. And that's essentially why the show is probably called that.
Yep.
Is in order to like really shine a light on the journey at the beginning and then what actually happens at the end. So,
and there's something sort of metatextual happening because Patha is so aware of the politics and the socio-political state of Thailand.
Yeah.
That like he's kind of saying, I'm going to speak for Patha here. He can feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but in some ways they're saying F4 Thailand is like, imagine if we could create a fairy tale about how we could transform Thailand.
Yeah. That's how it's their own cultural take on it. Is it's saying
because
the fantasy of it. Yeah.
It's going to be big. The transformation that is going to happen to the ruling group is going to be big. It's going to be fairy tale-esque.
Yeah, definitely.
They didn't have to call it F4 Thailand other than to brand that it's from Thailand, but it's very specific about a fairy tale lens to what's happening.
Right.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Wild Women stuff and like Clarissa
Pinkola Estes.
Yeah. She says at one point, a story is a seed and we are its soil. Just hearing the story allows us to experience it as though we ourselves are the heroine who falters and wins out in the end.
Yeah. Because that's what stories do. Like that's what
exactly.
They do.
And like, imagine if we can imagine a fairy tale ending to all of the horrible stuff that we go through on a daily basis. Can't we maybe imagine that for ourselves?
Right. Because the first step to, moving towards a better world is to imagine a better world. So,
and to visualize it and focus on it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The next comment is Blonde's Tupperware. Tom, the love of my life is the girl who stood up to me. Ren, the girl I loved left me behind. Gawain, the love of my lifelong friend left me and I've been broken since. MJ, KFC.
This is both depressing and hysterical. I apologize to everybody.
It's amazing. I love how much like the product placement is part of this show.
Oh, it's so tied into the story at this point. It's ridiculous.
I've been writing my fanfic and I included a lactosoy moment in the latest chapter because I'm like, if someone's gonna have a heart to heart, they have to hand the other person a lactosoy beverage.
Yeah, that's how it's been in the show. Like that's what it is. So funny. Ia B said one of my favorite arcs in Hana Yori Dango is Sojiro's arc, the Gawain character, because of the lesson it teaches us about once in a lifetime opportunities and that there is really more than what meets the eye. For the non-manga readers, in the Japanese version, of course, in the manga, there is a Japanese idiomatic expression that is always being said, which is something that is also used in traditional tea ceremony, which is ichigo ichii, literally meaning one time, one meaning, or it's most commonly translated as a once in a lifetime opportunity. I kind of felt sad because they didn't talk about it in this version until I heard your thoughts about the camera, and it just clicked in my mind that this version of the camera is the metaphor for the idiomatic expression, because the moments captured in a camera are a one-time thing and you truly have to be in that moment to fully experience and understand what it means. And later on, when she appears in his life again, she no longer uses that camera. Yep. So that was better way of explaining it than we did last week, but that was what we were going for. Thank you for clarifying that for the audience, because yeah, exactly. And you have to be in the right place in the right time to capture a memory. Capturing a memory doesn't guarantee that you're going to experience what you were experiencing by capturing it. There's lots of really cool metaphoric stuff going on with that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the summary as well. All right, so let's do our who, what, where this week. MC went through all of MJ's outfits, and I love it. She kept telling me how difficult it was. I mean, it was difficult to do Gawain, right? I haven't done him yet because but you've been working on him though, right? Oh yeah, no, I'm still working on him. Yeah, right. Yeah. So this week, I think you're gonna do Gawain last week, but you did it, and so you were gonna do it this week, but I owe Gawain. He's just, yeah. I mean, MJ is actually very solid, right? He is the moon. He's pretty like consistent. He's not as consistent as like I would say Tom or Ren, but or even Gorya, but he's more one of the more consistent ones.
Like he typically wears black with a ring of white or some level of white and black with sparkles because he shines like the moon. Yeah. He's almost always wearing a Chanel necklace.
Yes.
Which is the 2 reversed C's, and it literally, and usually he's wearing the one that's like lighter and darker. And so it looks like 2 crescent moons that are in the phase of transitioning.
Yeah.
And he actually full on wears a moon on the event of Tom's birthday because he is the moon. We've talked about how Domaji actually calls him that in the manga.
Yes. Yeah, he
right, because he heals others and and pulls and makes sure that they're okay. But there's some more things that are going on with his outfit than just that. He often wears things like, kind of, if you look at the middle of the slide, he often wears things that are like in reflection of how Tom is feeling or what Tom needs in that moment. So him and Gawain specifically actually dress the way Tom expects them to dress, or like secret Tom or reflecting Tom. Like Tom in the opening scenes where he's like throwing the bullies into the pool that didn't hurt Gorya the way that he wanted him to be hurt. Like they're wearing like it's like they got a memo or something, because MJ's wearing flowers and black, which is what Tom is wearing, and Gawain is wearing red,
which are the flowers.
It's like, and they do that all the time. Like if Tom is wearing black and white, like often one will be in black and one will be in white, because they're kind of like the devil and angel on his shoulder, and they're always like sort of there. Or the opening scene, Tom walks in and he's wearing his full animal garb. Gawain is wearing fur. And MJ is wearing kind of like black and leather. So they're both wearing like animal skins, like to support him. Yeah. Another example is when Tom is like depressed in the bar, because Gorya dared to go and be an escort for a hot minute. Tom is wearing like plaid underneath his black fur, and MJ is wearing plaid over top of a fuzzy sweater.
Oh, it's like, yeah, it's like opposite. That's so
it's like
funny.
Opposite, like he's trying to like pull him out of his shell.
Yeah.
And then we also get MJ wearing sort of often, like even last episode he wore, or this episode and last episode, sort of like these palm trees, or like sort of like the feeling of Gorya's seeds, like that we get occasionally in like the marketing material. It's palm trees on the back of his shirt, but it looks like Gorya's seeds are like the drawing on her shoe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Additionally, he also dresses like a cowboy.
Yeah.
So he wears a bolo, Prada bolo quite often, and the shoes. And the best I could come up with this is that he's a Lone Ranger. Because he's all alone.
That's cute. Yeah. Well, and the moon is typically seen as being very lonely, and because the whole like light and dark and the rotation of it, the fact that there's always one side that's in the dark. Yeah. So there's like a loneliness factor going on there. So
and he wears colors when he's trying to reflect like the feelings of the overall group. Like if they're all having a party, he'll wear more colors, or he'll wear more joy directly on his shirt. Like he tends to reflect like the happiness of F4 as a crew. Sort of like his song Best Life.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very thematic and on point for what his character is.
He wears purple when I know, because the couple times that he does wear purple, it's like really shocking suddenly.
Yeah. And he wears purple. His room is purple. That's primarily like when he wears purple, it's like it is shocking. He doesn't wear it very often though.
No,
but it is
no.
still like his color because his room is that color.
Right. It has like the
lights.
purple lights. Yeah. Cool.
And I think that he wears black so much in high school because he's kind of under Tom, and Tom expects him to be like his dirty deeds guy.
Right.
And also like his dad's profession, quote unquote. So it's like black doesn't show blood for the work I need to do.
Yeah, because we've talked about this before. His archetype is typically the warrior.
Yeah.
So he is, he's the one that has to do the dirty deeds, or he gets his like his helpers, like he has like people that help him do the stuff. So he doesn't technically get his hands dirty, but he is the one that like handles those types of deeds in the group.
It's very hitman, like, he's there to do the dirty jobs. Yeah,
totally. Well, that's awesome. Yep. So that is MJ. That's a fun one. All right. So let's go into where Tom is on his journey. Currently, we're using the hero's journey to template where he's at. A couple of things have changed. So last week we were at kind of the ultimate boon and the refusal of the return. And some things have started to smush together, which we've talked about this for both Gorya and Tom's journeys. Things are going to smush together at the very end. These steps don't have to take place one after the other, as they kind of did in the first part of the journey. Now everything's going to kind of happen all at once, in many different ways. So the refusal of the return can happen many different ways. For Tom, we've definitely seen that, like, because of the fact that Gorya is left, he's definitely stuck where he's at. Like, there is no, like, he regresses back into somewhat of a monster, but he can't go back.
Yeah,
he can't go completely back.
I wrote down in my notes, he's very bad at being bad.
Yeah, exactly. He's not the monster that he was before. He can't be the high chair tyrant, especially.
Yeah,
he is now matured to a certain level where he can't go back. So he's stuck, as opposed to being completely regressed. He's simply stuck where he was. And he's making not good decisions, but they're not evil, and he's not completely monstrous. The step that typically comes after the refusal of the return is crossing through the third threshold, which is the return threshold. And that's typically caused by the death of the mentor. However, we don't really have that for Tom, because the mentor that would have, seemingly died, or symbolically died at least, has already left. And that seems to have pushed him further into his refusal to return.
Yeah.
So in the next slide, I have changed this slightly. We're going to take out the death of the mentor because it doesn't apply to him. It might still, but we don't know yet. Like, we'll have to see what happens. But currently, it doesn't seem like that's going to apply to him, because we'll talk about it in our speculation. But the next step, the refusal or the return threshold, is probably going to be combined with the rescue from without, where the F3 are going to help him out of him being stuck and him, refusing to return. So we'll skip spoiler talk for now. We'll talk about that in the speculation of what it is that the F3 do for him to pull him and make him cross the return threshold, where he is returning back to the community, and he's going to finally bring that elixir back and change the company, therefore change the community, therefore change the world, the country, whatever.
Yeah.
So, all right. And Gorya's heroine's journey, she's finally fallen through the second threshold, my girl. And we will absolutely talk about this at length when we get to it in the episode.
Yeah.
This is so exciting. She has descended to the goddess within, and the first goddess that she meets, this can happen many different ways. There are many goddesses that you can meet on your descent. They can reflect a mother. They can reflect the crone, the maiden, the sexual awakening type of stuff. There could be a lot of different things that could like pop up in your like descent to your inner power. But Gorya's first goddess that she meets is the dark mother, the dark feminine, who is kind of a multi-faced god. She's the crone, the maiden, and the mother, like mother, maiden, crone. And she is so important for Gorya because she, in a sense, kills her instantly and makes her devoid of all of her power and all of her empathy and everything, and just sucks all of the life out of her and shoves her into the underworld, which is super, super, super important for her journey. So
why are underworlds important?
Because that's the part of the life, the understanding the life and death, the importance of life and death. Like, you have to journey to the underworld. You have to understand that, like, this ends in death.
Yeah.
And like, and the master of both worlds takes that.
And psychologically, we need to, like, as many people, there's like an adage, right? You have to hit rock bottom before you can actually grow and rebuild yourself. And we saw this happen with Tom when he literally hit rock bottom. Right? He went as low as he could go, being beaten up by the people he used to be beaten up. He used to beat up. Right. But for women, it's actually because and heroines, it's actually because this is the only way that they can truly touch and understand that the power that they needed this whole time was always within them. Yes. They needed to be stripped of all of the pretenses and the layers and the allies and the different aspects that kept them propped up this whole time, and actually understand what is going on. And the heroine's journey and like the wild woman archetype, it all comes down to basically knowing within your bones you're actually a goddess from within.
Yeah. And that meaning that you have the power to change your life, to do what you need to do what is, and you have this potential within you to change things for the better and to do things that you need and want to do, to fulfill your wants and needs, and to just, simply put, to just be. Murdoch talks a lot about the state of being and how it takes work to just be, and how important that is, to not focus so much on working, but to be. I think that's something we'll talk about probably going into next week with Gorya's journey, because she hasn't learned that yet. No, she's still working.
She's just been stripped of who she thought she was.
Yes.
That's what's important, is like she was literally like taken out of everything she thought she was. Like, one by one, each protection that she thought she had in place was taken from her. Yeah. So now she has to do her own kind of version of rebuilding her ego in a way. It's kind of an ego death, but it's different than the hero's journey. It's a rediscovering of something within. So sometimes this happens in caves, sometimes this happens in forests. It's a connection with the fundamental, and sometimes you'll see it happen where you're inside of yourself, like how this happens in fiction. You'll see an image of a person, a woman, seeing a version of themselves in a mirror or in a pool, and it's understanding that person, that idealistic version, is actually you. Stripped of everything, that you're actually still the ideal version. Gorya is both the grass and the star, the shooting star, and she needs to see herself as the shooting star. And she can't yet. That's why she's still where she's at on her journey. She has to, facing that dark mother, rebuilding herself, understanding when she reconnects with her family, reconnecting with that inner power, having a moment where she does see her reflection or sees her power and understands her power. That's going to be kind of that moment for her where she says, I am not only worthy to be
with Tom, I'm worthy of like being as powerful as he is, and working together, right? Because there's a lot of that in this episode about how she does.
He's like, you're gonna be with me, and she's like, and like, no, I don't see that. And yeah, like that's really part of this, is that like this is so fundamental to the heroine's journey that like at some point you need to realize the power was in you the whole time. You brought it along, and you just had to be stripped enough to see it.
Totally. So I mean, she's got to suffer a lot.
Unfortunately, you suffer more when you're more stubborn.
Very true. She is very, very stubborn. All right, so let's get into the episode. Episode 14, the chessboard.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
I mean, we were calling this, we were like, there's gonna be some sort of chess metaphor as like Queen's Gambit or the chess game. And the chessboard is perfect because it's like, well, this has been a setup. Yes. And you've walked into, a fork.
Yeah. The way that she sets all this up, it has to be called the chessboard. It has to be called the chessboard. So, all right. So we start off right at the beginning. Aunt Yu comes in to Tom's room, breaks the rule. Says, Tom, something bad has happened. And then we cut to Gorya's house, obviously being torn apart from the last episode.
Yeah. I love the worker guy. He's like, we were ordered to destroy, so we've got to destroy. Okay, so violence symbolism, right? The only way that you can dominate is through destruction, and it's through violence. And this is a very violent act that is, again, we talked about it, stripping away one of the layers of who Gorya thought she was. She was like, this is me, this is my memories. Am I just my memories?
Right. But no, you can, because you're not, you're more than that. You need to build something new. We talked about that a little bit last week about how really important it is that her home is being destroyed because her and Tom have to build a new home together. Yeah. So this is just the beginning of that. And she does take her memories from the home, right? She takes the things that matter the most to her.
Yeah. Because you carry those with you, right? Like that's, you carry the things that are most important with you in your brain and in your psyche. It's really interesting because I do think this is a semi metaphor for Gorya being scared to marry Tom too, or be with him permanently, because like suddenly she is owned by Tom.
Yeah. And
the Parama group. Yeah.
Yeah. And now and she doesn't want to stay with him. She wants to be with Honey. Yeah. So
there's some stuff happening.
Yeah.
I love that it's red too. It's very like red notice. It's a
the red card.
Yeah. I gave her a red card, literally.
We were all screaming in our live chat group. We watched it live together that it's a red card. Like, oh goodness. It's just so literal. It's so literal. And then we get the phone call to Gorya from the mom, and she explains to her what she's doing. But she says, like, if you want to come over, we can talk about this. This is her from the very beginning. She's been trying to get Gorya to come to her, and Gorya eventually does exactly what she wants her to do, which is, it just shows how ruthless she is.
Talk, negotiation, like,
ugh. Yeah, we can talk. Just come over here and we can talk. But Tom interrupts this call and gets in her way and says, Mom, no, like, stop playing this game. She tells her to stop playing this game, and then she explains to him, no, the world is a board game. I'm going to continue playing this game. And she also says, if you think you can stop it, show me. Yeah. So it's a challenge for him to play the game with her because she's already
on her rules too. Like that's part of it. And like part of this is that like Tom and Gorya have to change the rules of the game to truly
play a different game.
Yeah. And change the society. You have to change everything.
Now, let me just throw this out there because somebody made this point on Twitter and I thought it was so funny that the mom's game is chess, but Gorya and Tom's games are basketball.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, I mean,
not play pass.
Yes.
things to each other.
Exactly. So not literally, I wish it would be literally. I wish they would play Rosalyn at a game of basketball. I think that would be hilarious. But not literally, but figuratively and symbolically, the passing stuff that they talked about last episode. Also, just the fact that basketball is a team sport.
Yep.
And the fact that Rosalyn does not have allies. Like she is alone.
She has pawns.
Yes. So she, at the end of the day, her chess game, it's not going to work against the passing the ball that they have going on to each other, because they're going to change the game. They're going to change the rules. They're going to change the game. They're going to change the board. And that's going to bring her down.
I think we might get a return of enemies to allies, like all the enemies that were formerly enemies will turn to allies, just because of something that Rosalyn said in a confrontation. But again, it's because he has an entire team behind him, and it's not just F4 and Gorya. It's all the people along the way that Gorya has healed.
Oh, okay. I think I know.
It's like they're saying things that are very purposeful in the script. They're like, unless they could totally do it and it will be so good.
Yeah, like so meaningful.
Especially because Gorya is this person that helps people grow.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All right.
I love the golf, like angry golf stuff. I mean, this is MJ's house. You can see the purple in the background.
Yep.
Because this is his house. And
they always play games here. They always like kind of just chill out and like they always like play darts and like all of that. So this is kind of a place of refuge for them, but it's also in the dark, so it's kind of hiding away.
Yeah. What do you think of his outfit, by the way? I have to ask you about this.
Tom's outfit?
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, we've been talking about it because we've been seeing it, like the whole lace thing. And
well, and it's the original shirt that he wore underneath his jacket that she stripped off of him, his animal skin. So he's fully displaying that he is, covered in flowers and growth.
Lace is also very feminine, so the fact that it's he's exposing that part of himself is meaning like he's no longer like ashamed of being gentle,
in touch with his emotions, and being kind and gentle and thinking about people and humanity.
Exactly.
So good.
It's so good. And the F4 warned him here that the mom is serious this time, and they are reading the news again, the newspaper stuff coming back.
So race against time again. Time.
Yep, exactly. We're being watched. So like they show him like, look, hey, she wants you to like take over the company. Like you need to understand that she's expecting you to work. And then Gawain says that his parents have called him and tried to bring him home, like basically to keep him on a short leash. So that means that all of them are being watched, which is interesting if you think about the fact that Ren's family name shows up on those papers later. So
yes,
on the IRA, the medical papers.
Yeah.
So that's from his family's name, his family's hospital. So this is all the mom making her moves to try to keep them away from each other, to try to keep them from organizing against her.
Yeah, I have that, like, she's using all of the routes to cut off all of Tom's and Gorya's allies. She's doing both at the same time, but she starts with F4 because they are the most powerful.
Exactly.
And also like it's really interesting because it's like she's saying like he's going to take over this large division and gives a timeline to it.
Tom says something where he says, so they basically tell him like, you need to just look out for Gorya, like don't worry about us. And he said, well, Goya's with Haning, you know how she is.
Yeah.
And this is so interesting because we talked about before, like, Gorya she wants to be with her feminine allies. She wants to be with her girlfriends. And again, this is all of that like urgent yearning to be with the feminine.
Yeah.
and because she has been living in this world where she is constantly under threat and where she this masculine world and whatnot, and she doesn't recognize Tom's change in a certain way. Like she doesn't recognize kind of his inner feminine that he's exuding. He's trying to show her. She doesn't completely trust him in that way yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes apparent like in some later conversations. So she's constantly going back to like hunting, and this is why she couldn't separate herself from Lita before. She couldn't separate herself from Mira before that. Like she's constantly doing this to try to get away and pushing herself away from Tom. And it's just very interesting to me that it's like a pattern because it's so explicit. But yeah, so but then Ren says he tells Tom very plainly, it says, look, you're the only one. Mm-hmm. You are the only one, not hunting, not anyone else. You're the only one that understands Gorya the most.
Yeah. And then we get this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, like Ren recognizes that like they make each other better and thus the rest of the world as well.
Super
and like
perceptive.
Tom is just like doubting himself, I think, a little bit. Because he still thinks that Gorya doesn't want him around.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't. Like, she doesn't know the full extent of his growth because, like she
can't recognize all of the journey pieces that he's already been through, whereas she still has to go through them. Yeah,
exactly. She needs to go through these same pieces as well. Yeah. So all right, so then we see that the honey, obviously with the honey badger, she saved the honey badger. It's the only thing we can actually see that she saved from the house, was just really funny.
But we did get that one moment where Uncle Ga is like, we're dealing with real power now, and you need to like it, and like Gorya's like, I just can't accept her trying to keep me away from Tom, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
It's just before, like this moment where they go into the room he offers her, the sanctuary.
Right.
But he's like, well, you need to fight for me too. And in such a subtle way that is saying like, Gorya, this journey is really important because you're going to be fighting for kind of like the soul of everybody.
Yeah.
And like what we're going to be.
Yeah, but she's not ready to take on that responsibility yet. Yeah.
And then he brings her to a white murder room. No, she's kidding.
It's so funny. So a couple of things, like also like hunting. I wanted to call out Hunting's earrings because we talked about her earrings last episode. She has on these really big daisy earrings, and they're much bigger than the ones she's worn previously.
She's grown.
Yeah, she's grown, which I think is adorable because they're daisies. We talked about the fact that she typically wears daisies when she's more, not as developed. And then she had the little bitty gold flowers, and now she has these big blooming daisies. So it just shows how much she's grown. And this room that is white and it's covered in flowers is basically our room from One Last Cry. Right?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. It's a hibernation room. Like it's it reminded, when I saw this, I'm like, what are they doing in a hospital?
Because it's so white.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I mean, it's a place for her to heal. Like if you think about the words from One Last Cry, a place to be my own, place to have, to just think and to feel and to be and all of that. Like this is her space. It doesn't last very long, which is so funny, or so sad, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is a place for her to be herself for a hot second before she is told, you can't have that. You need to be stripped of everything that you are in order to find that.
Well, she briefly tries to rebuild herself, literally with a montage and her knights at service. And like they use Gawain walks in and calls her my lady. They use army, they use force. They're like,
did you get the trumpets though?
You got the trumpets. Yeah. No, but like they're saying like the kingdom is here for you.
Yeah. They literally have like trumpets
Yeah.
that announce that Tom is entering, and then
The
we're all
king is
behind
here.
you.
Yeah.
The king is here. We're here to help.
My lady killed me. And then we get the best montage ever.
Yes, it is the best montage ever. It's amazing. Oh, and I also wanted to call it the fact that, when he says the four of us will be your force, he also says, I've thought this through. Like, I have a plan that we've been here before with these two. We've been here before. We know the hurt's coming. But again, it's that idea, like, he is trying to get her to trust him and to trust them, like, as a couple. And she's not willing to fully do that. But cutest montage. We also get that
Best life.
The best life. Oh no, it's not best life. Is it? I thought it was
best life.
I thought it was shooting. I thought it was the
and it's my best life.
I think that's later. I think this is where
during the montage, it's best life.
No, it's a rap.
It's his rap. It's best life.
I thought it was from Shooting Star. Okay.
We fight.
I'll trust you. I'll trust you.
But the honey badger, there's like this cute. There's a couple of cute moments where like Tom is sitting down. She tries to get him up. She falls down. They both stand up together, which is like metaphorical. And then she smacks him with the honey badger, but he fixes the honey badger's little like necktie. And then he tries to like take a really super uncomfortable up close selfie of her. And then then they get the full everybody in the selfie.
Yeah, this is where that picture comes from.
Yeah.
So we've seen the picture before. We never knew exactly where it came from. This is where it comes from, which is adorable.
Tom is probably just happy that she kept the honey badger.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get Tom helping Gorya with her clothes, which is very reminiscent of when Gorya had to organize Tom's clothes when she was at his house.
Yes.
So,
and like metaphorically, this is like when you take out your baggage, put it all on display and have your partner organize it.
I mean, she literally had like a black bag with all of her stuff in it, and
here's a trash bag,
sorting out her garbage.
And he sees all of the different faces of her, all of her different, like what she wears, right? All of the different things that he's given her, like, or that he's seen her in, and he loves all of them. He's like, I'll live here with you. This makes sense. This is me and you. But this isn't truly who Gorya is.
No. And it really shows that all the clothes that they chose to put on this rack here are all like the type of clothes that she's going to be like hand-me-downs to her brother. Like, they're all clothes that she had to wear for certain reasons. And like, there's no dresses, there's really nothing feminine. So it's really interesting, like the choice here, which just is going to show us like how much she's going to change later on. But he does try here. He pleads with her, don't do this on your own anymore. Promise me. He's just like, promise me that we'll do this together.
And then like, will your mother ever give us her blessing?
Yeah. And he says, does he say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, or something like that. But he's like, it doesn't matter, because we're gonna fight it together as long as it takes.
It doesn't matter as long as we're together, and then we'll see who gives up first.
Yeah. And then there's a moment there. He's like, let's see who gives up first, either me or mom. And then they don't really show Gorya's face, because it's Gorya who gives up first.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's 3 people in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Which again just shows us how much they're still not quite on the same page. But and then he says, do you want more support?
What does he mean by that?
He wants to kiss her and hug her and be with her
and do more than just what they've already done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. I cannot believe we didn't get a kiss up this episode. I was like, no, it's so mean. It's so mean.
I mean, I think I understand why, but Yeah, it's also funny to see the guys like
yeah.
sure.
It was a cute moment, and it lingered for a long time. So it was.
That's how she grabs his face. That is.
Yeah, it basically was there. I mean, it was a nose touch.
Yeah.
But he runs off to beat him up, which is so cute. And then we get this great little montage of the rest of like the F4. They're all staying in Ren's condo. And then
Hani is staying overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
And Gorya sets up the little light with the stars that we have seen before, which is great. I love that she has it now.
Yeah.
And
he brought that for her.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cute. It's like, this is yours. This belongs to you. Again, trying to show her that she's in the stars. Like, she's a star, right? He's still trying to prove that to her. And Tom and her fall asleep on the phone. And I wanted to just point out the fact that his shirt there.
Yeah, I died. Yeah,
I bet you did. Tell us about it. It's got like chains all over it, right?
Yeah, and they're kind of like in a maze pattern because he's actually like chained and stuck in a trap.
Yeah, that's basically
and
what
he
I
doesn't
was thinking,
and doesn't recognize that. The behind is also blue, which sort of shows like he's not willing to fully act right now.
Right.
I also love at like down on the floor, like, so like, okay, we gotta think, like, we think about these things in fairy tale metaphors, and like it's very telling that Tom is on the bed, Ren is on the bed but kind of partially off, MJ is at the foot of the bed as like the person that has to do like everything, like, right, because he's like the magician, right? So he's kind of like
MJ's
opposite.
the warrior, Gawain is the magician.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I mean, Gawain is across the bed. That's all.
Right.
That's no, what I meant. But MJ is literally like on guard at the door to protect everybody.
Oh, that's funny. I like
that. No, he is like he's in a guarding position. Like like if the wolves are gonna come, they're gonna get MJ first.
Yeah, for sure.
It's such a weird, like,
it's very weird.
Like, why did they do that? Why?
Yeah. Because they're fitting in their archetypical roles. It's so weird. Yeah, and Gorya, she's also dressed in pink, which we've seen this shirt before, and just again, it makes me wonder how much she's gonna change
with her pink blankets.
Her pink blanket, yeah, which we've also seen before. So, and then we cut to the mansion where Auntie Yu is sorting out Tom's clothes, and we don't really get to see exactly why. But then Rosalyn walks in and says, it's a shame that I'm going to have to fire you because you don't know your duty. And then go to the flower shop. This is the coolest shot. This is so good. I love this so much.
Yeah.
She's literally on a ladder shining the Meteor garden sign.
Yeah.
Cleaning it up. Yeah. And she almost stumbles and falls, and Tom is there to stabilize her. Yeah. So she's literally like unstable. She's a star rising up to the sky, but she's still like unstable.
Yeah.
And she's working.
He wants to be there to support her.
Yeah.
And to do it for her if that's safer. But you can't do somebody else's journey for them. That's also important.
Exactly. This whole conversation is all foreshadowing the fact that like Gorya still has a lot of work that she has to do, but she has to figure it out on her own because Tom's intervention is not helping her right now.
Like, you can be there emotionally to support somebody if they need you to be, but he's like literally like, be careful while you're hard at work and come on down now. And he pulls her away from the growth that she needs to be doing.
Yeah. Again, this is all like symbolic. It's not literal,
all symbolic,
but
it's all there. Okay.
This is the kind of work that tall people should do. Like he's basically saying like you're not fully formed yet.
I'm a tall flower. I can do this.
Exactly. You're not fully bloomed. I can do this. Why don't you go do some other work? And then he strips off his jacket to take on the work. Oh, I wanted to also call out before you talk about the shirt.
And jacket.
Oh, okay. And jacket. There is a clock ticking in this scene.
Oh.
Just like a long time ago, right before they broke the news that the old guy had died. Before and when Tom is over at her place and they're fighting over the cookies, and I was like, there's that clock ticking in the background, and then when it stops, that's when they announce that the guy has died, and that means that Tom has to go take over, or at least like he has to basically now become an adult and learn how to like run the company, or at least step up in ways that he hadn't before. So the clock is ticking here, and I'm not entirely sure what it means. But it stops whenever she pulls the little note from the product placement.
The product placement is symbolic in this instance. Do you know why?
Why?
I'm not care of yourself.
Oh. So, but how is that?
It's like, okay, so it's like a luggage tag.
Mm-hmm.
You're off to go on. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. Like I said, this whole conversation.
Handle yourself, Gorya.
This is all foreshadowing what's going to happen. It's all
you have to come down from the Meteor Garden, go to your lowest point, and go take care of yourself because your shit is all apart.
He even gives her the lowly, it's like the lowly tea, like the poor person's tea. They call it out like at the very first time it shows up. Yeah. And now he gives it to her. Yeah. No, that's exactly what's happening. All right. Tell us about the jacket and the shirt.
Okay. So does it annoy me that now I can instantly spot Louis Vuitton from a mile away? No, but okay. He's wearing a checkerboard that is covered by like overlapping and kind of like waves by the Louis Vuitton symbols, and that it was of course his wealth, flowers, stars, and diamonds. Stars and diamonds are very similar from like
from a
symbol perspective, so it's literally like the Meteor Garden symbolically.
It's also Jean.
It's also Jean. So he's like trying to be like, I'm lowly, I'm with the people.
Exactly.
Underneath is this black, hyper worn, it's got holes in it in the back and around the neck shirt. And it's actually it says, hello, my name is Demna.
Right.
And okay.
It's Balenciaga, right?
It's Balenciaga, but there is actually controversy around this shirt. Okay.
I didn't know about this.
There's controversy. So Demna was actually is a name that is of a designer. I'm gonna bastardize the name, but it's Demna Gavassiliada. And she's a designer, and she produced this shirt in addition to an Apple Music playlist that came out at the same time. And it's like, hello, my name is Demna. And it's like her signature on the shirt. It was like this huge release that came out.
I think it's a guy.
Oh, him. Okay. But traditionally it's a femme name. And the origins come from Demeter, Mother Earth. From Greek origins, right?
No way.
Yeah, no, seriously. And okay, so that's the origin of the shirt. So it's like this has been the newest version of the shirt. Right. But originally, and there was actually a lawsuit around this from Vetements, because they came out with a shirt that looked very similar.
Yeah.
That said, hello, my name is Capitalism.
Oh.
And then like capitalistically.
Yeah.
There was another shirt that came out and there was a whole lawsuit around it. So capitalism was replaced by
Demna, the name
Mother
of the
Earth.
designer. Yeah. Which again, that like, yeah, but it's also a capitalistic.
Yes. But also still, yes.
Yeah.
Like even what Tom is wearing, and that's some of the criticism with this, like trend fashion wise of like, hello, my name is, or wearing like brand logos under designer outfits. It's like rich people trying to pretend to be not rich was a total trend for a while.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to try to purposefully dress normal.
And
it's like, but it's still capitalistic.
Yeah, like it's still hurting like, people, and
like you can't escape what you're doing.
Well, that's what because that's another major thing about the show is Aunt Yu calls it out about you can't, everything that you do is going to have a consequence.
Yes, everything that you do has a consequence. So even though he's like rebranded himself away from capitalism, he still is a child of capitalism.
Yeah, totally.
Even though he's like, I'm gonna wear my Earth Goddess's name on my chest.
Yeah, he's still like, he still hasn't returned from like that's like that threshold that he has gone through. He has not returned yet. He doesn't know how to bring back what he's learned yet.
Yeah, so like he's stuck. Like faking it because he's wearing like the name tag, like, hello, my name is Tom. Like he's wearing this designer outfit still.
I love it. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I read about the Demna stuff, but I didn't know how deep that went. So amazing. All right. And then we get the Aunt Yu shows up, tells Tom that she needs to meet with him, and then we kind of cut to Tom telling Ren about what had happened.
Yeah.
And we also see,
this is the background. There's actually blinds in the background of this moment that are actually down in Ren's
condo. Yeah.
Ren's condo, and they're filled with diamonds. Because they're like up in the sky, and it seems like they're like doubling down on the diamond symbolism.
Yeah, the stars,
stars, the diamonds, like it's everywhere in this episode.
Well, it's also like it fits where they're all at on their journeys, because it's like, you know, Gorya is starting to rise, and the guys have kind of like left the Earth world, and they're all kind of like living in this fantasy land where they think they've all figured it out. They think that they've gotten their happily ever afters, essentially. But they're all going to be torn apart at the end of this, where, you know, they're kind of like living in like this limbo, essentially, between the earth and the sky. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to put in our minds, because Gorya is trying to rise and they're trying to all rise together. So yeah, because we were on the earth before, but we also see
we see Rosalyn in her black and white outfit, right? And she's printing papers, and so
and like in our group chat, people were like, printing papers is bad, this is a bad sign.
They were right.
They were so right,
because Lord, this is made up, this is fabricated.
Yes,
whatever she is printing is not genuine and real. If you had a piece of paper like this, it would have already existed from the doctor, not being fabricated and printed out in your own house.
Exactly. This is something that we know she has gotten from her connections with Ren's family, through the medical connections that she has. And yeah, this is all lies. This is all lies. And Ren tells Tom in this instance, you know, that, you know, she's capable of so much more, and she's doing all this on purpose. Like, she knows what she's doing. And also everyone in this scene is in black and white except for Ren and Honey. Hunting is obvious, right? Because she's not really a part of the chess game. But Ren is an interesting one because Ren is kind of a part of the chess game, but he's kind of playing as like this lone wolf.
Yeah. He's like,
So-
I am Gorya's personal knight.
Yes, I'm not here to play your game with your mom.
Yeah, I'm here to
But-
protect Gorya.
Yeah. So giving this information to him is like really important to protect Gorya. So
Yes.
he tells Tom that, you know, of course she got rid of Aunt Yu because Aunt Yu is important to both of you.
Yeah.
And this is far from over.
And then we get into the threatening everyone's livelihood montage.
Yeah.
Right,
Three
three things. We get Uncle Ga being like the violent attack on the flower shop. This is really important. This was violent. They push him. They're like, we're getting you out of here. And again, destroying another sanctuary or safe haven for Gorya. That's really, really important. You got used to this place? Nope. Hanning's dad, which would have been the next logical place for her to go and stay ahead of time, getting him fired.
Yep.
And then the last thing, which is Tom's money.
Yep. Tom's accounts are all frozen and he's going through his wallet and he doesn't he's been disinherited. And
then there's like the rumor of like, the rumor is she's going to disown you, which is when you disown somebody, you say you're dead to me.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's like she's killing their livelihood or killing them all.
Yeah. And in previous versions, like these three things do typically happen,
but not all together.
Not all at the same time. Yeah.
She's so mean.
She's horrible. Yeah. And I love that the next thing that happens after these three things happen, like simultaneously, like Ren turns to Tom and says, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do now, my king? What is your next move, my king? And Tom is scared to death and he just says, don't waver. Like as a question, because flashback to his conversation with Aunt Yu, she tells him in that moment, whatever Rosalyn's doing right now, it's gonna hurt you and Gorya. And she warns him and she says, but you just cannot waver. Everything that you do is going to have a consequence, but you can't waver. So he just keeps his head down and he's just going to keep pushing forward because he thinks that because that's the only thing he can do, really. He doesn't have another plan. Not really.
Yeah. And he doesn't actually, like, if we're talking about chess metaphors and he's in black, he's on the defensive.
Right.
And him and Gorya are wearing different colors. That's really interesting too. So a lot of people have pointed that out, that they're actually playing different games.
Yeah.
And he, as the king, can only move one step or one other step to the side. He has to rely on his queen to act for him. And she's not even playing on the same board as him.
Nope.
Can we just point out how Auntie Yu is like a flower defender because she's wearing flowers?
Yeah, she's wearing white with blue flowers, like kind of faint on there.
Yeah, and she holds his hands.
Yeah.
I love her.
It's really sweet. Again, like this is a like death of the mentor type of moment.
But she doesn't really die, and she isn't separated from the story. She's useful in the future, probably. She says
she'll be waiting. She says
she'll be waiting.
Later.
So like maybe she's done from Tom's story, but she's there for Gorya's journey as the old knowledgeable Crone in the future, the true Crone.
Right there, because usually the female lead will say how she actually feels to the Aunt Yu character. So I don't know if that's going to happen this time, but the fact that she said that she'll be waiting makes me think that she's going to, definitely play an important role in the future. So it's interesting. So then Gorya goes, she does the last thing she can think of at the time, which is funny. It's so impulsive. It's very much a Tom move. Like this is really showing that she has taken on the lessons and learned the lessons of the masculine world. And she is playing the game in that way, and she's not thinking about her own power and what she has to offer. Yeah, oh god, it kills me.
Yeah, she's not thinking about things from like, yeah, she doesn't even recognize her own power. She doesn't even think she has power. This is we hear that in what she says to Rosalyn later. Like, she has no power, she is nothing, and so all she can do is sacrifice herself.
Exactly.
That's what she walks in. She literally walks in as a queen to be like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for my king. And he'll still win. We all saw this in the commercial. We're like, oh yeah, okay, this is happening.
Yes.
But
also, okay. So also though, I forgot about this. The Auntie Yu is saying in the background, the more she pushes Gorya, like the more that Rosalyn pushes Gorya, the more fuel it'll give Gorya to fight back.
Use the hurt.
Yeah. Which is interesting because Auntie Yu is almost overestimating Gorya in this instance, because she knows that Gorya is going to fight back, but she doesn't know how. So I
think Auntie Yu thought by being the maid it would help her get like the rest piece. She thought she was gonna be the reconnecting with the feminine, maybe that Gorya needed to grow and understand her own power,
right?
And she wasn't.
No, there's so much more that has to happen. So
so Rosalyn, of course, in her black and white outfit, because she is both offensive and defensive in the scene. She also controls both sides of the board. She knows exactly how this is going to play out and has prepared all of the moves.
She's prepared multiple different ways of it happening. She knows if Gorya makes this move, I'm going to make this move, that's what you do with chess, right? If you've watched like Queen's Gambit, or if you've played chess before, like that's the whole thing, is seeing what's going to happen before it happens. And also when Gorya walks in initially, I didn't grab this in the shots, but she passes what are like these gigantic chess pieces, like they're big black chess pieces that are in the corner of the room right when she walks in, and they're right behind her right before we cut to the next part.
Of course there is.
Of course. So again, it's just reminding us that Gorya is there to play, and all the pieces behind her are all the other pieces except the queen, because Gorya is the queen. And it's there to remind us that this is who she represents at the time. She's going to take herself off the board, essentially.
Yes, she's going to sacrifice herself for this. And oh my goodness, so much stuff is going on.
Like there's the part where she says, I may lose, but Tom will win, because when you sacrifice your queen in chess, there is the potentiality of giving the king
the thing that he needs.
So that's what she thinks she's doing. There's also a line of, you just want to win.
Which is something that like she said to Tom before. As well. And so what's really interesting about this version is that Gorya says the thing that she wants. She offers it straight up, like here's my neck, kill me. And normally it's the mom, this mom that says like, I want you to leave, that's all I want, you get out of here and everything will go back to normal. Instead, Gorya proposes this solution, but unexpectedly she like challenges Rosalyn back for like the soul of Tom. And this is where this escalation, and this is where I think that like Rosalyn like switched her game up a little bit, although she had prepped like, I'm the died mom thing like from a while ago, but when she was printing the papers.
Yeah. But that was like a last last ditch effort. Yeah.
Like she was gonna say, like, get out of here and I'll stop destroying your life. And Gorya would have been like, oh, okay, like in the other versions. But that doesn't happen because she's like, you reminded me of Tom.
Yeah.
Tom has changed. And they don't say stuff like this in this show in particular. Maybe they say it in other shows that are not this show, but in this show in particular, they don't say, you remind me of Tom, unless it's going to come back and be like, Tom has changed and so can you in the future. There's like some weird Twitter stuff happening where people are like, oh, I never forgive Rosalyn. I'm sorry, she is redemption. She's going to be redeemed. There is actually like there's no way it can't happen now, because she has seen the goodness in Tom changed into true goodness, and there's all it takes is the one grain of innocence and love that all of us had at one point, because we were all innocents and babies.
Yeah. That's why, like, I said all it's going to take is for her to cry real tears.
And she comes so close when she's like, Tom will never love you, which was, okay, that was a low blow. Gorya, and you don't know Tom's journey.
I thought that was super fascinating. Like, she says he hates your methods. He will never be what you want.
Yeah.
And then she says, and then Tom will never love you. So it's like, there's a whole,
I have thoughts.
Well, it's very similar to, like, we talked about before, how Gorya is constantly chastising people whenever, like, she will say whatever comes to her mind.
Yeah, this is quickly. A dumb thing to say, but I mean, it pointed that Rosalyn actually cares about being loved.
Yeah. By Tom. Like,
by
it's really weird.
Tom.
Because she has Tia. And Tia is someone that she keeps on a leash, but she doesn't actually show love or affection towards Tia.
Yeah, she doesn't show love or affection towards Tom either. But
she wants Tom to be by her side. She doesn't care.
Again,
I've
said this.
I've
said this is slightly
it's like it's a reverse edible complex thing.
Yeah, and a paleo complex thing. Yeah.
The Jocasta complex, like
Jocasta. Yeah. It is weird. Okay, so in Bell Hooks, they talk about how women in patriarchal society always want the fruits of their sacrifice towards patriarchal society to finally pay off at some point, where their husbands will finally love them back.
Right.
And like I accept that I'm being the good patriarchal wife, but like, love and domination cannot coexist. It's a lie. Right? You can't be constantly trying to beat up your son so that he becomes stronger and have him love you. But genuinely reconnecting with your emotions and allowing yourself to, apologize, not in the way that she does later on, but, actually seeing where she went wrong and feeling that and atoning for that will be the way that he can be like, maybe we can rebuild this.
Absolutely. But in this instance, though, she sees it, she recognizes what's happening, and she swallows it, and she like changes her.
Oh, and she moved her hair, which I have done to try to not cry.
Oh, interesting. I have a method. I have a method to not cry.
Yeah.
You really focus on clenching your butt cheeks. Like, I'm like seriously, it helps. Just some advice for everyone.
You did not think, well, and like, tears come from a place of anger. Sometimes they come from a place of frustration, and this isn't necessarily sad potential tears. This could be anger tears.
Because
she got poked right where it hurts, which is you sacrificed your child, and that means that love and your domination cannot coexist.
Yeah, because it's getting to that part of her that is like, think like, what about you when you were a child? Like it's like it's poking at like her inner child, and how
everybody wants to be loved, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if your own child doesn't love you, then what do you have? Like that's what Gorya is basically saying. What's your game? Tom will never love you. Like what else do you have if Tom doesn't love you? And she takes that to heart, but like I said, like she swallows it.
Yeah.
And then she changes her method and she decides to go for like the ultimate move to appeal to Gorya's empathy.
Yeah.
Because Gorya tried to appeal to her empathy. So she's going to turn that right around on Gorya.
And that's also a chess thing. Sometimes when you try to do a move, you can reverse the move on people.
And we get the line that I could not place, the second trailer, where we got the line, now I see how things have always revolved around you.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that things have always revolved around you. And I couldn't place it. I thought it was Aunt You after I kind of went back and forth and listened to the audio. But the funny thing is, the reason why I thought it was Aunt You was because her voice changes. She sounds here like an old woman.
Yeah. Do we want to dig into that now?
Why? I mean, this is where it happens.
Yeah.
This is where she, like I said, she shifts methods and she literally disguises herself as an old, frail, dying woman, a wise woman, right? Someone who has experienced the world, and she says all of this to Gorya. Oh,
yeah. Can I remind people of some past symbolism from Tom's birthday?
Please do.
And also like the manga. Tom's mom is a dragon. She's a dragon mother, and that is the same as being a snake.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of snakeness in this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it up again, but reminder, she is a dragon, very specifically. And it comes like back and back again. And even in the sort of mythological symbolism that we're going to be tying into structurally, dragon. This is the end boss. This is the dragon that Gorya needs to fight.
Absolutely. Yep. And she tells Gorya that she is sorry for all the horrible things that I've done to
dearie,
you.
I'm so sorry for all of the horrible. Okay.
I just needed to find a way to get you here. That's all. This all was for a purpose. This all was for a reason. And that's when our group chat lost its crap. I was freaking out. And that's when she looks at the papers and she directs Gorya's gaze to the papers, and they're sitting right next to the chessboard.
Yeah.
Because this is a move.
Well, and people were like, is she really like, no, it's a move.
It's a move.
No, it's a move. There's no doubt in my mind.
As soon as she shifted to that like voice, I was like, she's lying. Like none of this is not real, because this doesn't fit the other versions. This is all new, you know? And we've had lies in other versions. We've had her go to these extreme lengths before this character. And that's why I also was kind of shocked that people think that she's beyond redemption, because like, do y'all remember what happened in Hana Yori Dango 2005? Like, she convinced her son that he was the reason why a man killed himself after he lost his job with their company and all that. And it tormented him for years. And then this guy shows up randomly one day and he runs into him on the street and he's like, oh yeah, your mom like paid me to pretend like that happened.
She's really supposed to be the worst. Like
Yeah.
that's like part of this is like she's willing to do anything to have her way. And I mean, metaphorically, that's really important because she represents the penultimate, like a way that your soul is corrupted because of this way of thinking that you must be in control and that you can't just let other things happen.
Exactly.
You know, or other ways of thinking.
Yeah. She is not beyond redemption, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So we go to the F4 in Ren's place, and Tom has been trying to call Gorya. We find out from the screenshot on his phone that the screen on his phone says that it is July 30th. And that he has been trying to call Gorya 117 times.
Yes. That's his thing. He basically was like, ring, 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 ring. Like, she's gonna see that you called her, dude. Like,
he just can't stop. But she does call
Honey
him.
Honey Badger don't care.
Honey Badger don't care. Exactly.
Yeah.
But she does call back, and this is when she has made up her mind. There's a moment where she like walks out of the mansion very slowly, and you can see like things have changed, and she is deciding what she needs to do next. And I like this shot. There's a moment where, you know, Tom is like talking to her on the phone, like, "Oh, you want to meet up?" But he seems kind of weirded out by it, and then he looks over at Ren, and Ren like narrows his eyes at Tom, like, what? Like, everything is just okay now? Like,
everything's cool now, everybody.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to me. I'm not being suspicious at all. Like, Gorya wouldn't be this way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And poor Tom just wants to believe that things are okay, like, so badly. But Ren knows things are not okay in that moment. And they show up at the clock tower.
The clock tower and Ferris wheel in the same shot. Oh, and they keep on talking about how there's no more Ferris wheel, right, Gorya? We're not going to have to do this round of suffering again, will we? No more Ferris wheel. They say it 3 friggin' times.
Yeah, it's a joke.
You want me to get back on the Ferris wheel, right? No,
Exactly.
because it's symbolically samsara. Like they're,
Yep.
And then she's like, why don't we hang out before it gets too late?
Yeah. Yeah. So I like the fact that they
That was fake tears. I don't really cry.
It's all building up to like this pain. We just know it's coming. So he hugs her though. He hugs her. It's really great. It's a really good hug.
She looks dead inside.
Yeah, there's that weirdness. This is why, like, before we started recording, I was like, yeah, it's a weird date. Cause like it's weird. Yeah, it's like it's supposed to feel weird. It's wrong, right? Like,
no one's gonna get this reference, but it's Tell Me on a Sunday Please by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Like, it's their, like, they replicate their first date together to kind of close out their relationship. She brought him there to break up with him because this is like perfect in her mind, and it's like the best place to close out the relationship was where she said yes to showing up in the first place.
It also reminds me of a song called like Expiration Date by Gabe Dixon Band. But yeah, it's like the inevitability of things ending badly, which we all knew that going into this. We all knew that this was going to end in pain because we saw the footage of the pain in the same outfits.
Yeah, in the mid-season trailer, the like second trailer that they released, because
and in shots in the music videos as well, the OST music videos. So, but they have sweet moments here, which can
we talk about the atonement to the bear?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with the bear that I really like.
Like, now they're friends.
Yeah,
they hugged it out. He saved his hat.
I love that I like that so much that he caught the hat, because before he had like hit the hat up.
he saved the hat.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is important because it's rewriting history too, right? It's like a new first dates.
We talked about that in the previous episode about how you can change the meaning of your own memories,
symbols, and you can revisit places and build new memories in a bad location, things like that.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, this is now going to be a bad location for Tom.
Be bad
for now. I mean, I suspect they're going to come back to the clock tower and Ferris wheel a third time. It just makes sense because they keep on using it as a symbol.
True. Yeah.
Maybe they won't. I'm still hoping for the healing of the stadium. Fingers crossed.
That's the more important place for them to revisit, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We have some time.
To me, this is like Tom like hugging his animal self too.
Yes. Yeah. A few of us were talking about that. Yeah. A few of us were talking about that on Twitter too, like right before we started recording, that he like Subway Dates pointed it out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I going too far to say like this is Tom embracing his inner beast and his shadow? And I was like, absolutely not. That's what's happening. Like it's literally happening. Because he is that multi-animal beast and whatnot. So the fact that he's hugging the bear that he was fighting before automatically has symbolism to it. So but yeah, and then we get like there's they have like dialogue that kind of overlaps some of this stuff. I don't get it, like why did you want to come back here? And then you, like you said, with the stuff about the Ferris wheel, the jokes about the Ferris wheel, not going back on the Ferris wheel. This is all, it all feels weird to me. It all feels very weird. It's supposed to feel weird. Yes.
It's supposed to be disconcerting and weird and kind of off. And like Tom thinks he's in a happy place and Gorya's like I'm saving these memories because I'm about to break up with you. Then we get a flash to the water flowing, and then them standing kind of right on the edge of the water because water, of course, means change is coming.
Yep.
And we get the entire conversation about the future, i.e., I want to know what you're going to do with your future because I'm not going to be in it.
Yeah, this is also, there's also something weird going on with the fact that, like, again, she doesn't trust him. So have you thought about what our future looks like? Have you thought about what the future will look like? Our future, your future, whatever. It's the future. She says it like that. And at that time, all of these lights are shining on them in different colors, which is a sign to her and to them that, like, hey, Gorya, like, your future can be whatever you want it to be. You have the power to make it whatever you want it to be. But she doesn't see that. She doesn't see it. She's looking the other way. Tom's facing that. So he is totally bathed in this potentiality. And he says, he kind of says, like, why do you ask? And she says, oh, of course you haven't thought of it. And he's like, no, I have thought of it. Like,
I think I wrote down, I think he thought about it from the first time he like decided he loved you. Like, he's like, I'm gonna marry her and we're gonna have this many children and this is what it's gonna be. Like, he's got plans for them.
This man has more plans than he has shared, for sure.
Yeah, and he's just scared to scare you off. Like, he doesn't want to scare Gorya. Like, she's like a startled cat or something. Like I think I wrote in my fanfic that and like, oh, maybe it's a future chapter, who knows, but I wrote he always looks at me like he's trying to handle a feral cat. Because she's always like, I'm gonna attack you. like no, I'm just trying to feed you. I'm just trying to like make sure you're taken care of. And she's like, no, I don't want that. Like, he never knows when she's gonna be like, and attack. Like,
she's
and like
unpredictable.
What he says could be misconstrued.
God. So of course he's not gonna share everything with her. Of course he's not gonna like tell her everything that's on his mind all the time.
And he's giving her the highlights of like, okay, it's going to take work. Awesome. it's a lot of work. He's being realistic. He's got lots of plans, but he knows it's going to be paired out. And that's paired with
the chess game.
The chess game where they're on opposite sides of the chessboard.
She also she's putting, this is in her head of her going back to her conversation with Rosalyn, but you can see that she's thinking that Tom hasn't actually, even though he says that he's thought of the future, Tom hasn't actually thought of the future because he hasn't planned it out the way that Rosalyn's planned it out. She has decided in her mind that Rosalyn has thought of all the moves, and and Rosalyn is the know-it-all, like she knows everything.
And knows the world better. Like that's also really important.
They
knows
talk about
business.
Yep.
Knows, like, you're just like, okay,
you're just a child, like you're just a teenager.
You're just a teenager. You're just a child. It's all paired because, like, he's like, I have a plan. I'm just giving you the Cliff's notes. Here you go. It's going to take a lot of work. I know. He even, like, at the end of the conversation says exactly how long it's going to take.
Yep.
But do we have a brief note for a Bell Hooks quote, or brief moment for a Bell Hooks quote?
Yeah, go ahead.
Many mothers in patriarchal culture silence the wild spirit of their sons, the spirit of wonder, playful tenderness, for fear that their sons will be weak and will not be prepared to be macho men, real men like other men will envy and look up to.
There it is.
This is the mutilation, and she uses Gorya as a tool to hurt Tom and take him away from this thing that makes him a full, whole human and more able to see that the world is bigger than just one chess game.
Yeah.
One chessboard. It's bigger than just the chessboard.
Yeah.
And the games you play.
Gorya is unwilling to look at this as like, hey, the world can be a different game, like what we talked before. Yeah,
basketball.
Like let's just change the game. She has been watching Rosalyn play this game and play it with herself, like play it and show Gorya, I know all the moves everyone's gonna make. I have the control of both sides, and I know exactly what everyone's going to do. So,
she says like he would like to change the group. So it's like he wants to change the kingdom. And I'm sure it's going to help us eventually. Like we want these whole and complete men eventually. Like we want Tom to be a good ruler eventually. But in the short term right now, he will be seen as naive.
Right.
And
we have really
too many enemies and he's going to be crushed, i.e. he is going to be weak, so he must be violent and domineering to survive.
Right. And he's telling her at the same time that she's recalling this, I do want to change the company. I want to prioritize people and not money. And Rosalyn is consistently moving the white pieces off the board here.
Yeah, because she's taking all of
it,
Gorya's power.
Yep. And also right in this moment, Rosalyn is also wearing an engagement ring. When she picks up the black piece, she says that's when I hand him the reins. Yeah. She's wearing an engagement ring. Like that's weird. That's just really weird.
There's some weird symbolism happening
she's literally getting
here.
ready to like wed her son.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so fascinating. But then she reveals her like final hand, like she reveals her last thing.
And if this didn't work, I don't think she had anything else in. I think this was
this was it,
like the thing.
Yeah, she's watching Gorya the whole time and then Gorya says, but you're not going to do that. Like, you're not going to, hand the reins to him, are you? Like, cause Goya's trying to see like, okay, where does all this go essentially?
Yeah.
And then, she reveals the papers. And then we also get this part where Tom does say like, give me time and I will show you. And that is lined up right with the mom saying like time, she's running out of time.
And she's running out of time, and he also needs time.
He needs time,
turn
exactly.
his enemies into allies, and time for him to convince people to believe in a new way.
Exactly.
Okay. I hate this so much.
Why?
Because it's freaking pretzel logic that I hate. Because she's saying you need to bring him back his non-weak self, so eventually he can be caring and change the kingdom for the better.
Oh,
you have to be, it's the reverse, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to be caring and compassionate and turn your enemies into allies the whole freaking time. Being Gorya this whole time has proven that, and because she says turn his enemies into allies and for time to convince people to believe in a new way, like literally she is saying what Gorya does by being Gorya. Gorya is Gorya.
Right.
But she's like, no, I want him to be the dominator that I raised. And you need to bring him back.
This is like, and it's fairy tale logic.
Yeah.
You're the only one that can change him, so change him back. Put him back the way he was, because that is the version of him that I need in order for this company to it's not even a company anymore. Like, we're talking about a fairy tale.
We're talking about the world.
We're talking about the world. We're talking
about the soul of the collective unconscious in a way.
Yeah.
And
he needs to be a monster in order for things to stay the way that they have been.
Yeah, because I want to keep things the way that I know how to play their game. I want to play my game my way.
And Gorya doesn't see anything outside of what she knows. She doesn't imagine anything outside of what she knows, because she hasn't gone on that. She hasn't gone there yet. She doesn't imagine a way. She doesn't know what it looks like. We talked about this before. She doesn't know what the future looks like, and she's scared of the future. And as soon as she lets go of Tom's hand, she's tumbling. Like, she doesn't know. She's not good on her own. With him, at least she has some kind of guiding light. At least she has something literally.
He's literally like walking ahead of her.
And pulling her along. Yeah.
Pulling her along. And yeah, exactly.
but then she lets go of his hand, and now she's like tumbling into the darkness.
Yeah, and it's raining now.
And it's raining now on top of everything.
This is a cinematic trope. She can't cry at this moment. She literally cannot, because she would give away how she feels.
I think she does. When she does cry, the tears are hidden by the rain. So yeah,
you cannot cry. So the world will cry for you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is cool, right? Because there's also the stuff about the fact that the heavens are like not okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Gorya is falling from the heavens.
There didn't used to be lights now, and now there is, because of how high they are in the metaphorical sky. She is amongst the stars. You can see them in the background.
They were there, but because they were there during the day, that the lights weren't on. But the string of lights were there. So it's just perfect that they're gonna revisit this location at night, because of what you're saying. Like, it's symbolic, that she is now in the sky, but it's raining. She's
gonna fall,
falling, in a bad way, not in a nice meteor way.
and in a way, because she is heading into the abyss from her journey perspective. Yeah, totally. That's really, 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 really important. So I love how this is like lies on top of lies on top of lies.
She has to, and I love this. Oh my God. He has to take so much convincing.
So much. I love Tom.
It's ridiculous.
I love this version of this character so much, because he's like, no way. You're, like, stop joking with me, and like the piece of paper. She tries kind of all of the things that were his fears. He tries everything, but he's like way past this. And we get the reveal of what this is actually, which is death, quote unquote. Like, I am
I'm dying. Yeah.
I need to give my son the kingdom.
Yeah.
Not dying. Lady not dying. Okay, this is back to that snake symbolism. Snakes often play dead.
Right.
So that they can attack or escape, right? It's called a death feint. And it's like one of those tricks that you use when you've run out of everything else.
Yeah.
Right. In chess, there is, and this is like to Loaded Tacho's credit, pointed this out. The Sicilian defense has another version of it, which is actually called the Draconian defense. Let me just confirm that.
Oh, that's legit.
Dragon variation. And
what?
Yeah, it's called the dragon variation. And it's very sharp and dangerous for both sides because everybody loses tons of pawns, because it's basically like a storming effect where you basically try to go after each other's kings with all available resources.
Oh, so you're losing a bunch of pieces in the process.
Everybody loses resources to just like try to punch a hole directly into the king's heart.
That's awesome.
The dragon variation of the Sicilian defense.
Literally what's happening.
It is literally what's happening. So I just love that so much because like she is the dragon mom.
Yeah.
She is this dark queen. And I have another snake related thing when we get a little later in the episode.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. A bunch of stuff happens here. So we have the line where she says the teenagers such as yourself need time to cultivate their ideology, which is a crazy choice of words there, Rosalyn.
Patha, did you jump into our brains?
Yeah, it's creepy. Like she's appealing to different sides of Gorya. She's saying, I'm dying. You need to cultivate. You like don't need to deal with this.
Yeah, like go off and like garden somewhere and leave my son to go and rule the kingdom. It's always the plea that like the evil stepmom always makes.
Yep.
Right? Like you need to go off and be a gardener somewhere while my son goes and like rules the kingdom.
Exactly. You're not built for this. This isn't you. And she also tells her like, you're just a kid. I'm an adult. I built all of this. My whole life is this. And this could all be ruined because you're here, essentially, is what she tells her in that moment.
Yeah.
And then she tells her, pleads with her to basically make him a monster again, bring back the old Tom, reverse your magic.
You're the only one who can change him, so change him back and take away everything that you have inspired in him. Okay. I do think she's wrong.
Well, I mean, of course she's wrong.
No, I know, but like Gorya didn't change him, although she inspired his change.
I was gonna say this is one of those tropes of female magic stuff, right? It's a myth. It's not actually true. Women aren't the ones who magically change these men in these types of stories. They are there to inspire them to change themselves, but it's not through their womanly magic. It's because they have something in them that person doesn't have or has been told to repress or whatever. So
and there's also this myth that like in the animal kingdom, animal mothers like are there to like toughen up their children so that they survive, but really what they in the animal kingdom, what they really do is teach them the wisdom of when to kill and when to heal and help others in their pack, etc. But why does this deathly feint work?
Because she's appealing to all the sides of Gorya.
Yes.
In
Why
very,
else?
very specific ways. Why? Why else?
Why else? Because you can't fight death. It comes for us all.
like her death, like
her death,
the potentiality of her dying,
the potentiality of Gorya's death,
right,
the potentiality of anybody's death,
right.
This is an existential crisis,
right. Yeah, I mean, this is this is literally what's gonna bring me to the stuff about Gorya being the Inanna goddess and like facing the dark feminine. This is like this we'll talk about that a little bit, but she does tell her in that moment, and this is like essentially all I can say now is that literally, like, she's looking into the dark feminine, and the dark feminine kills her on impact. Like, literally,
there's no fighting this.
No.
It is the death stroke. Like,
yes,
it is like insta death, as they call it, right? Like, this is like literally she's using death to kill Gorya. Like,
she instantly kills Gorya, like figuratively, metaphorically.
Oh, it's so good.
She sucks the soul out of her.
Yeah, vampire-esque. She leans in and is at her neck, like.
yeah, exactly. She takes that any last little shrivel of life that was left in Gorya at that moment. She sucks it all out of her with that hug. But she says, as a dying mom, I'm asking you to, and she does say, to tear him apart, which I think that's cut with the later part, but that choice of words just kills me.
Yeah.
Tear him apart so that he will become a monster again, so that he will go back to who he was. Like, you put him together, tear him back apart.
And also it's like replicate, like, be me, right? Like, be me, because look at my
power. Look at how much power I have.
Yeah.
And this is a part of the descent, right? This is a big part of like the goddess's descent and Gorya's descent to her inner power, is that she is seeing the power that this other goddess, who is representative of the power she has inside of her. So this is really important on her journey, because she sees how destructive this power is.
Yeah.
She has to learn from this experience that is destructive power, and she has to learn how to use that destructive power or not use it, right? Like, she has to understand that it's there inside of her, because the thing is, she uses it against Tom right now. Like, it's happening. She's literally
being taught by a goddess how to be a destructive goddess.
Exactly. I mean, she's puppeting in a way, right? She's using the same words and using the same actions, so she's not completely understood it yet, but she is tapping into that.
She mutilates him.
Yeah, she does, and it's horrible.
That's horrible.
All right, she says, where are we?
You think this is your idea of Gorya? Whatever your idea of Gorya is not real, and so this is the why I felt like the date was really important, was because she needed to rewind his vision and his idea of her and replace it with this money grabbing person, and he needed to poison. So she's like transferring the poison that was given to her by Rosalyn onto him. So she's like poisoning all of his like vision and what he's built up in his head as she is, right, like it, like, and then she's like, I've had nothing but disgust for you, because
none of this was ever real. I never wanted to be with you.
And like the disgust thing is perfect, because that's like okay. Sorry, we do see him, like, his hair is curling, and you and I talked about this. I'm like, how did they get his hair to curl? I was like, I'm literally like, they made him look more like the comic character than any time else in the show. Like, under this water, he is like the formative proto Hana Yori Dango main lead. Like, it's bizarre, but he is the beast, and he like shrinks down, and he's like huffing, and like just
slapping the ground.
Slapping the ground
and he's crying,
crying and like she's hurting him. This is her like ripping him apart, just like Rosalyn asked, right? And
he keeps saying over and over again, this is not true. It's not true. It's not true. Like, he cannot believe this. And he is like, prostrating himself in front of her, and he's bowing to her.
And he's bowing to her.
He's like, no, like, please just tell me this is not true. I will do anything. I will do anything you need me to do. Please tell me this is not true. But then she says, you're just a child. You're looking through things.
Glasses.
Yeah. You can't rule.
Oh my God.
Like, all this is coming from Rosalyn, right?
I know. One of the most scary things that you can encounter on the hero's journey as a hero is a true encounter with a vengeance goddess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
This is the most dangerous, like,
this
goddess.
They will literally destroy you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you will not be the same. You will be walking with a limp for the rest of your life. Like, that's something Joseph Campbell like talks about. Like, you never actually want to run into a goddess, because you don't know if they will be somebody who helps you or somebody who kills you.
There's actually a lot of limb stuff with that. I mean, I know like you were going to bring up a certain tale later, which has to do with this, but there's a lot of stuff going on in Hero's Journey stuff about limbs being cut off.
I mean, you think about the most common version, which is, I'm sorry to say, Star Wars, Luke Skywalker losing his hand, Anakin Skywalker losing his part of his arm. Like, there's a sacrifice to be made to the journey. And this is part of, like, literally she is like,
she's cutting off parts of him.
I mean,
that's what she was told to do, right? Like, literally tear him apart. And so that's what she's doing. Like, she's ripping apart him in this very internal way. And essentially that's this part of the journey for him, is like he's literally being torn, and he's being like, parts of him are being cut off that he has put into himself, which is emotional mutilation and all of that.
It's the sadomasochist mother who is emotionally mutilating her son through Gorya.
Exactly.
Like, this is bell hooks. Like, again, like, we're talking about how the patriarchy emotionally mutilates boys so that they are not able to be in touch with their own emotions and be whole people. They can only be destructo monsters.
Exactly.
And then we get this like moment, like, you've never thought of me as an was there ever a moment when you thought of me as an ordinary person?
So there was, this and the other versions is there a moment that you ever thought of me as a man?
Yeah.
And that's what it is like in the manga, and that's what it is in pretty much every version. Like, did you ever love me, essentially, or did you ever think of me as like someone you could love? Like, there's that
it's played out differently. And to me, this is always sort of like the crux of the Rose question in Beauty and the Beast, which is, have you ever loved me? Have you ever loved and been loved in return? And the been loved in return is the question, right? And she loves him. But this is all like the monster, like, you never truthfully saw me as a man.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Did you ever see me as anything other than a monster?
Yeah, exactly. We both wrote the same note, basically.
I love it.
But it's that, like,
but she says, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I'm just freaking out because when you're in love, it's really, really important how you see yourself in your lover's eyes. Because you look into their eyes and you see a reflection of yourself, the glass mask, as it were. Like, and if your lover sees you only as a monster, which she is telling him very clearly, a child, armchair tyrant, but like it's all contradictory stuff because it's like trying to strip away all of what he has built up through looking at himself in Gorya's eyes.
Yeah.
And his transformation.
And if she doesn't see him that way, then
he's not worthy.
Is worthy. He cannot see him that way anymore. So she removes that ability for him to see himself positively.
Yeah. In some ways, like metaphorically blinding him.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
Like if this was a fairy tale, it could come, or a folklore, it could come with a blinding moment.
Yeah.
This is like
Jane Eyre kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she responds to this though, and she says, I never would have looked at you if you were ordinary. Layers and layers and layers of meaning there. But in order to prove it to him though, but
she had the flash.
I forgot about the flash.
Because like maybe she even questioned it for herself if she ever saw him as ordinary, but putting away her clothes on the rooftop of the place that she was crashing totally was momentary, like where she acknowledged, actually, you know what, that time on the roof. Yeah. You know what? We were just putting away my clothes. You were ordinary then.
Yeah.
You were a man.
You were just my Tom. Like you were just mine. And for that moment,
my domestic partner.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But to prove it to him, she has to do something extreme, and she understands that now. So she takes off the necklace and she goes to give it to him, and we get just the best version of this, like,
in existence. Yeah, because it's both of them.
Good. Oh my god. And her face afterwards is just like, I didn't expect him to do that, which that happens in every version, but this is like, I'm happy it happened before she left, because we didn't need it when she comes back. Like, it saves, again, efficient storytelling. Yeah. You know, it's definitely good. It happened here. It was great. But it heads towards the sewer. Yeah. Which is literally the lowest point. So again, it's like her and him are heading towards the abyss in her mind, and she doesn't save it in time, so she has to go and hit the lowest, grossest place, the moistest, the rock bottom. She has to go into the filth. Yeah, and that's a lot of like psychologically speaking, like when women are have stripped themselves of their emotions in order to do things that are like of the masculine world, and like they're, you know, unable to connect with like their own femininity or whatever. They typically have dreams of dirty places and things that are like tunnels that are grimy and gross and moist. Yeah. Like women who run with wolves, she talks about, like, you have this urgent need to reconnect with the moistness, and it's like getting down dirty, and she describes it like, and she talks about how like it's getting down to being like fundamental, whatever that is for you, like, and like she's like, again, like in other versions, this is like a weed. You're growing out of the filth, you're growing out of the muck, right? Yeah, it's a symbol that it goes throughout the entire show, but I'm really surprised they didn't use lotuses at all, because lotuses are like they're a big part of Thailand as well. But yeah, they you know, this is just the beginning of her going on this part of her journey. So when she does go back to kind of this agricultural type of thing, we're going to get a lot more of this, like Gorya working in the dirt, in the water. It's damp, being moist, it's damp. She's going to be dirty. It's going to be awesome. And it's super important in this part of her journey. But yeah, so then Tom walks off, and it's funny because they tricked us here a little bit, because we had an image in the trailer of him on his knees alone. Yeah, I think they used something they didn't use. Yeah, like for the trailer. Yeah, definitely. They've talked about this before. Like they have
filmed things in a bunch of different
different
ways, and it was a different cut or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So we know that that image is not here, and again, it was funny because it did trick us. It made us think that maybe he tried to retrieve the necklace. I don't know if they have other versions of it in that way, but this was the best. This is the best. This is
great.
So we go to the train station, and Auntie Yu
talk about Gorya,
how she's wearing gray and
white, and she's reborn, and her hair is down, so she's actually a full feminine goddess.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry. I got really excited there.
Yes. She's also carrying a green bag.
Yes.
She's carrying her budding sprout.
Yeah.
With her that has the things inside of it that are hers and Tom's.
She's been reduced down to just the bare essentials.
Yeah. She's been reduced to she's literally, she's carrying, like, if you think about it, like, she's starting to sprout. She decided to cut off the head of the sprout.
Yeah.
But she put it over her shoulder.
Yeah, she's like, I'll carry this. I'll carry this with her. I'll carry this back to my mom so that my mom can help me grow.
Exactly. And to dig into the dirt and grow
and get back that energy, that femme and nature energy that I'm missing.
I wrote she's her hair is down. She's ready to go home and be nurtured.
Yeah.
She's a baby again.
Do you know what shirt is in that bag?
No.
You see it later. It's the shirt that she kissed Tom in.
Oh, I wonder if that's like some of the only stuff she has right now. Like she kept specific things. It's so interesting. And we've never seen this gray shirt before.
Yeah, this gray shirt is brand new. Like like again, she's like swaddled like Tom was when he was reborn.
Yeah, this is all new for Gorya. This is so interesting.
And her hair being down so good because she's like hair changes. Like she's always had this like little top knot.
Yep. Like a little
sprout. And whereas this is like full.
She cut off the sprout, Marie Claire. She's holding it.
She's holding it. I love that Auntie Yu is like, I'll be waiting.
Yeah. She's like, this is not the Gorya that I know. And then she says, I'll be waiting. She knows, she has hope that Gorya is going to go figure her stuff out and come back and like actually change things. This is just brilliant the way that they do this. Are you going to let it in this way? And the Gorya's like, I don't know what else to do. I have nothing else to do. So
I'm carrying a sprout here.
Yeah, like I'm doing the best I can. And then
you can see it. See?
And
the shirt pops out. The shirt pops out of the bag.
I'm looking.
Like pop. And with Tom and Gorya necklace. It's so purposeful.
It's very purposeful.
It was wrapped in the shirt.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
It was wrapped in the kissing shirt.
Which
is also the same shirt. She had that on for a long time. When she actually, her and Tom could actually like be a couple together for that moment. She had that shirt on the whole time. So yeah, that's of course what she put it in. And then we get the flashback of her
digging into the dirt, saving it. The lowest point, she's like literally like, no, I can't. This is the thing that is important to me. This is like me rebuilding myself.
This was so good. I cried buckets twice watching it twice. And they play, what do they play here? What song do they play here?
One Last Cry.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, good. Okay, that's what I
thought. Of course.
Yeah.
She's crying on the train and like.
Oh, so this is fun. This is kind of like a fun thing too. The stickers on the front of the little box that she has.
Oh yeah.
Which we've never seen this box before. Like I feel like just everything is very purposeful. But it says there's like the little quote sticker thing that says like Satan says I'm kawaii, which is
cute.
Yeah, like Japanese kawaii is cute. I'm cute but evil, right? So this is like saying like she gained favor with Rosalyn. Satan says I'm cute.
Yeah,
I did
praise
what I
from
needed
the
to
devil.
do. Yep, praise from the devil. I did what I needed to do. I'm a good girl. That's all wrapped up in Heroine's journey stuff too. There's also a little pizza sticker and a little alien sticker. And I just feel like pizza thing, I'm not sure, except for just like, like very kind of lower class type symbolism. And then the alien sticker is like, I don't belong here, I'm not worthy, that kind of stuff. Like, it's not my world, you're from a different world, that kind of thing. So yeah, even the stickers, crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So we get the kind of that last big emotional sweep of her crying on the train with the necklace.
I promised to get by. Then we get the shot of Rosalyn with her lighter. Let's talk about the lighter.
I was so happy about this lighter. God, this was so cool.
Damn you, Rosalyn, and your symbolism of who you have in your hand now that Gorya's on her way out of town.
Exactly. Because the lighter symbolizes Tom, right? The fire, but also it's rose gold, which that's Rosalyn. Like, this is Rosalyn, who she actually wants to be, right? She's been playing this game black and white constantly. She's worn gray, she's worn black and white, she's worn beige. She hasn't really worn a lot of color. And suddenly she has this lighter that we've never seen before. And it's in a color that we haven't seen her wear. And it kind of makes me think that, because Rosalyn's name is like kind of a variation on a rose. And this is, again, like Tom being a rose as well. Like, this is the rose symbolism, but Rosalyn is rose gold, essentially. Like, I think that's a really good summation, like, for her character, or it's a really good color for her character.
She's like contains Tom.
Yeah, she's contained Tom. She controls him.
Did you know, I've never, like, I didn't talk about this last time, but I've been thinking a lot about the Parama group like symbol, and to me it looks like 5 crystal pillars with a little man in the center, like a castle built around a man.
Yeah, totally. Did you see my thread on that?
No,
I did a thread about how it looks like a woven fish mobile from like Thai, like they in Thailand they do like these fish weavings out of like plants, and they make them into, they weave little fish from leaves, but then they also hook all of these little fish up together in this kind of mobile. And the way that the Parma group symbol, it kind of looks like a child's mobile.
She's built this whole kingdom around this child.
Yeah, exactly. Because it also looks like the symbol of the fish, how it's woven, if you turn it on its side, it also looks like a child's mobile. So like, there's a bunch of stuff going on with it. I mean, I think all of the theories are legit. Like, some people have talked about it looking kind of like a Thai architecture kind of structure.
There's diamonds in it, so it's like stars. To the stars. Yeah.
There's also 5 pillars, which you said as well, but there's 5 companies. There's 5 main companies under the Parama group. That's in the shot where Melody took this screenshot at one point, and it's a screenshot from where Tom figures out that the mom has done something to Gorya's dad, and he slams down the papers on the table. So we get like a shot of what the Parama group actually is made up of, and it's made up of 5 main companies. So that's probably what the 5 pillars represent.
And I also think like it's also leaning into the future, because it's F4 plus Gorya.
Yeah,
in the future.
5,
like, so yeah, it's
and I wonder,
see,
because there's also like an X there in the middle, on the middle pillar. And I keep looking at that and I'm like, what is up with this X? That's probably Gorya. Like, interesting. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. All right. So then she uses the fire to
burn the evidence.
Yeah, burn the documents.
So again, to me, this shows this is fake, because if you actually had stage 4 cancer, you wouldn't be like, I'm going to work to go and destroy other people's businesses. You'd be like, I'm gonna go and like get treatment or extend life or whatever, right? Stage 4 is no joke. This woman is mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
She wouldn't burn these documents.
No, it's very odd. And then she says, I wonder from today on how everything's going to turn out. And they show Tom packing his bag, and there's like stuff on the table that's like ripped and broken, which probably shows like he had like a tantrum of sorts.
Yeah. We talked about it reverting. Like,
yeah. Like he has now, they're not going to show him be violent, but he'd been violent. Like he at least threw something, destroyed something in his room.
His couch is all disheveled, and
he destroyed his room.
He destroyed his room. He had the classic Beauty and the Beast tantrum in his room.
Right. And before, like when Lita called him out on not, doing, like, he didn't hit anything, like the simple act of hitting the chessboard would have been like, they've already established that would have been a violent act.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Lita broke glass, it looks like, too.
Yeah.
Like there was broken glass. There was things. Yeah.
Yeah. So he definitely like has gone back to like some kind of violent part of himself that we have seen. But again, it's funny the way that they're choosing to show it, because they don't show it in all of its, its glory and whatnot. They show him just like shunning a suitcase hard.
Yeah.
but yeah, so there's evidence that he's done that. And then we get the time jump, which we've been talking about. Yeah.
Just briefly.
I
before
missed
that
the snake thing. Oh crap.
Yeah. What?
Well, there was a noise back when, I thought you were going to say that there was a noise back when she was burning the documents. It sounded like snakes in the grass.
Yeah, it sounded like snakes in the grass. Yeah.
Sorry. No, okay. What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say, like, she doesn't have a plan past this point.
No, she doesn't.
Her plan was like, well, if I make another one like me, everything will work out great. I wonder how things are going to turn out.
She didn't.
Seriously, Rosalyn?
She didn't.
You're an ass.
Yeah. She really didn't have anything planned out, and she definitely.
You're an asp.
Which
is a type of snake.
Definitely did not think that the F4 would be looking for Gorya. She definitely did not foresee that they would want Gorya to still be in their lives at all. Like, it's so interesting that I have a year to live, essentially.
Yeah.
A year later, nothing. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, we assume that this scene where she burns the stuff and has a conversation about what will happen, it's like that was the right after she left, right? And then
but we get the time jump. Mean Girls are bored without Gorya, right? They talk about how it was just a year ago when I was pulling Goya's pigtails, that's like a weird line. But they're still up to like their Mean Girl stuff, clearly. And they're talking about, do you miss her? And they're like, yeah, it's kind of just been boring without her. And they say, yes, but like boys always come first. So let's check up on the F4 and see what they're doing. So
I do like that basically we're saying that like nothing is right without Gorya.
Yeah.
Without saying nothing is right without Gorya in the kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Gorya is like, she's had this effect on them, and they would never admit it. They would never admit that she had this effect on them. Maybe at the very, very end. But definitely not now. So
yeah,
they check up on the guys, and they see, like, we kind of go to what Gawain and MJ are doing. And they are wearing their, essentially it's kind of like their university uniforms, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like they're wearing their own stuff, but they kind of look like the university uniform. So it's funny because it like shows that they've kind of grown up a little bit and they're essentially more responsible now, or at least they're more like respectful. But they're still kind of up to their old ways. And because the community hasn't completely healed yet. But MJ says, yeah, I'm posting on social media. I haven't spent a lot of time with F4 lately, so I must do our fans a service, which is just, fan service, just fan service. And then the girls are looking at the pictures of them. Oh, they're in college. I heard they change their cars every day. But today their car looked different. And then we got to the car that they're gonna give to Uncle God.
It's like the biggest product placements. Like
X series.
X series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's like, yes, I love it. But then we find out that Gawain essentially got this for him because he wanted to take a load off of honeying, so he essentially got it for honeying.
Because she keeps on complaining about her back.
That was funny. But it's cute because it's like, I want my girl to not have to do so much labor, essentially. And then honeying does what any good friend does, and she's always caring about Gorya. She's always worried about Gorya. And she's like, so what's going on with all of that? Like, what's going on? Have you guys found Gorya? Or like, what's going on with Tom? What's he doing? And Gawain says, screw Tom.
Yeah.
Ren, however, is probably being indie somewhere right now. And then we get the best shots of indie Ren
traveling the provinces.
I love this so much. His hair, like he's so cool. He's like this cool guy that's just like backpacking around Thailand, I guess. I don't know. It's so cute. But he's looking for Gorya, obviously. I love this so much. And he's staring out on the water, marking off another location on his list. And then he meets this woman. He's trying to ask people around for Gorya. And she goes, is she your girlfriend? Are you looking for your girlfriend? And he says, no, she's a very important person to
Akira.
the TV speaks up. Yeah.
And then he says,
me.
So both of them.
To me. He takes that though. He takes this ownership of her in an interesting way. And it's almost like the first time he's really admitted to himself that he really cares about her, like in a different way than Tom. Okay, so this brings me to all the weird mythic stuff that's happening here. Basically what's going on here that I really love, this is in Murdoch's heroine's journey. This is a big part of the journey, and this happens. We can talk about the analogs of sort of this story and these characters because it does happen in other cultures, but this goes all the way back to like Sumerian mythology, which is super, super, super old. Obviously, if you know like Sumerian, it predates Judaism. So there is a goddess named Ereshkigal who is the queen of the underworld. So let's go back to like, Rosalyn manipulating Gorya here. Ereshkigal, and this is taken directly from Murdoch's book. I mean, obviously there are other ways to interpret these myths, but this is how Murdoch typically interprets it. She says that Ereshkigal was raped by the gods and exiled to the underworld, like all things having to do with nature and the body. She is the part of the feminine that has gone underground. She embodies rage, greed, and fear of loss. She is raw, primal, sexual energy. She is feminine power split off from consciousness. She is woman's instinct and intuition ignored and derided. She is the place where potential life lies motionless in the pangs of birth before expression. So that's essentially Rosalyn, because Ereshkigal is kind of this pure form of this dark feminine figure.
Yeah. Like she is there is an analog to her in Greek mythology, because kind of Greek mythology came out of this and transformed. It is Persephone.
Persephone is one. Persephone, what she becomes that, right?
Because it like means goddess of death, like bringer of death, right? Like, so she becomes this. And
another one would be like Hel,
Hel, in Norse mythology,
right?
And interestingly enough, she is actually the leader of the Transgridian snake gods, the ones that live underground.
Yeah. So there's a lot of snake symbology connected to like old goddesses. That typically it's also connected to the cycles of like when snakes shed their skin is really similar to when women menstruate, and like how women shed the like that part of their bodies and all that. Losing the words for everything, but you know what I mean. Like it's there's also like the moon periodicity going into that as well, like snakes and the moon, and there's instinctual stuff that's very similar to cycles of what some women have to deal with. So
and because like snakes can go in and out of the underworld, right? They are of death and life. And
so Ereshkigal is interesting because she was of life, but she went into the underworld, and now she is only
death.
But Inanna is the goddess of heaven and earth that descends into the underworld. She is the one that becomes the threshold. She stands between the two. She becomes both. She is both the goddess of the light and the dark, of the heavens and of the underworld, after she goes through her descent. And Murdoch says of Inanna, who is like Gorya equivalent here, she says, as Inanna descends into the underworld, she is stripped bare and judged at each of the 7 gates. So this is like how Gorya's, first of all, her clothes are always, a big part, stripping her of her clothes, stripping of her of things that cover her starlight, essentially. But also there are certain steps that she goes through in her confrontation with Rosalyn where she is stripped bare emotionally, and
like losing her house and losing the flower shop and having her friends attacked.
All of that is like those stages where she's descending. So she has to remove parts of her clothing. Inanna has to remove parts of her clothing every time she goes through another gate as like a sacrifice. And eventually she's stripped completely bare. And when she meets Ereshkigal, finally, when she comes eye to eye with her, Ereshkigal kills her on sight. And she puts her on a peg, like she like, kind of like Dracula kind
she
of
sort
stuff.
of like hangs her,
like she like hangs
for everyone
her
to see.
Right. She puts her there, her naked body for everyone to see as like a warning. And then when Inanna, so then back on the the surface level, when Inanna fails to return after 3 days, Ninshibur, who is the conning equivalent, it's her like lady in waiting, begins to lament and, beating her drum, circles the houses of the gods. She goes to Enlil, which is essentially Gawain, the highest god of the sky and earth, right? Because he's the second to Tom, and to Nana, who's essentially MJ here, who is the moon god and Inanna's father, but both refuse to meddle in the ways of the underworld. Finally, Enki, who is Ren, the god of waters and wisdom, hears Ninshuber's plea and grieves for Inanna. When they find her, only Ereshkigal is able to revive her. So there's something else that happens where Enki takes, basically he like creates these two figures that like go into the underworld, a man and a woman, but they're like fairies in a sense. And he sends them into the underworld to retrieve Inanna's body. And when they find her, they're like, she's dead. Like we can't bring her back dead. And so Ereshkigal revives her with not much pressure. She's like, fine, I'll just give her back her life. That's fine. And then they take her back up to the real world. I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode. I don't know who's going to like revive her, but essentially this character, like with Ren sending his soul essentially out to the world to find her, to plea with the dark feminine to revive her. That's going to be what Ren does.
Yeah. And to convince her that like it was all a lie. I think that's a big part of it. Yeah. Like what Rosalyn pulled on her. Do you want to talk about her husband at all? And like
I was going to talk about that next week.
Okay.
But I mean, we can mention it
just briefly. Like he doesn't like mourn her loss.
No, he takes her throne. Yeah. So what happens is essentially, and we'll read more into this before next week because I am curious how it fits, but I'm not entirely sure.
He basically becomes a Persephone like figure and has to spend half his time in the underworld and half his time.
I meant like in like F4 Thailand.
Because we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how relevant it's going to be, but essentially it's that the husband takes it's her equal at that moment, and he takes her throne, and when she comes back, she realizes that the only person that really fought for her was the Ninshubar, the Hanin character, the woman. She's the one who fought for her, and this male character that took her throne essentially betrayed her, and she uses that rage and that dark feminine power that she learned in the underworld from Ereshkigal to kill him, to essentially kill him. So
demons drag him to the underworld.
But that's this could all just be very symbolic. Again, like this is all happening internally,
right? Like it's all psychological. So she's like, she knows that he's cursed, basically. Like that's from a Gorya perspective, she has cursed him.
That's why I'm curious to see how we all come out of this, because if maybe the mother is involved more heavily, which we've talked about that happening, then she is the only one that can revive Gorya, or it's the mom, it's Gorya's parents and her family that revives her, and that's going to be the thing that brings her back, which is probably more likely. So it's going to be interesting. But this is important for the descent is important. But we don't know at this point what happens with Gorya anymore. Like this is it. This is all we know. We just know she left for that province. And we don't know what's happening there. We're going to get all that next week. So it'll be interesting. And then we get this great we get all the stuff that's happening with Tom 1 year later. Where is Tom?
He's bad at ruling. He's a bad king.
Okay, but let me just say, I know because like MC has some issues with some of the business stuff, which I love, but I wanted to say symbolically, the graphs behind him, the red bar is the lowest one.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's totally Tom, and he's like, I'm gonna just
let's just get rid of it and replace it. Yeah,
get rid of this red thing that represents my love and design, right?
Yeah.
Planning, design, the entire design team. Okay, or the entire business development team. Yeah, so like what we were planning on doing, let's just get rid of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Ridiculous.
Because,
Tia's like, hey.
Tia's like, what are you doing? Oh, I wanted to also call out the fact that Rosalyn's dress, it looks very red in this shot. It's actually like kind of pink more so. But at Assassin Sage on Twitter said that the red pink is like a lunar eclipse. And do you know what the lunar eclipse is in like Chinese folklore?
No.
The dragon that ate the moon.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So it also can symbolize the emperor's success, because typically like the emperor is also associated with dragons and all of that. So
to me it looked like she was done with her game and she was just like moving on to like rose-colored rose-colored clothing, because I'm now Rosalyn.
Oh, interesting. Right? Like, yeah.
You know, like she's like, I'm finally able to put the board aside and I can be Rosalyn again.
Right. That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the moon symbolism, because I think where all this came from was essentially us trying to figure out why she was suddenly wearing red / pink, and then she wears yellow in another scene. And the fact that the moon has and this is mostly coming from Assassin Sage and I think Melody, we were all kind of talking about it, about how like the moon also pulls on the tides of the earth, and so is pulling on like Gorya's like feminine energy essentially. So like we already know, like we have like MJ, who's a different type of moon symbolism with that F4.
Mm-hmm.
But Rosalyn also wears a bunch of moon symbols as earrings. She wears like lots of crescents. So she's kind of acting in this way as like a power. Like she has power over the things like the moon typically has power over, meaning like she can control an eclipse, a harvest moon, you know, what those things mean, or she is lonely, totally darkness kind of thing. She has that going on as well. She has the split dress, the black and white. So she's like the two, you know,
like
the two sides, half moon. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on in this episode suddenly, which is very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so it is one of the most costly things to replace an entire team. This is a metaphor for him basically saying like, I'm not going to deal with F4. I'm not going to deal with my old life. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to get rid of them. I'm just going to cut off this piece of me, the red.
That's why he gets mad. That's why he gets mad at Tia, who says like, you went too far.
The team was learning.
This team has been with us. They've been with us for a long time. All you have to do is draft up a plan so that they can like get past this or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, absolutely not. He slams the table down. And I love how the camera reacts to it as well.
It bounces. Yeah.
It bounces.
Like, so much power. Let's talk about his room, his office. He's got the stars in the background, i.e. all of the diamonds. Some of those diamonds have two sides to them that are actually triangles.
Yeah.
And they're like interconnected and touching the other ones. Yeah. So interesting. I love it. And then we have on his desk, we have two king statues and a queen right next to it, because
I totally missed that.
He's split and he doesn't know which kind of king he's going to be.
I totally missed that. What?
They're kings. You can tell, like,
they're
because
kings.
And then there's a queen.
Ooh, that's
a smaller
so
queen.
A smaller queen.
Like so literally the height difference between him and Gorya.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah. People are like, whoa, what's going on with this? Is it two queens and a king? Is it no, it's two kings, because he's cut in half right now. I like how he's also sparkly, because like he's a star, like, but he's a dark star.
It's also, I also said this about a different, I was postulating something differently. Like I had a different theory about why he was dressed this way, but I think that there's some symbolism that's maintained that it's a part of some kind of magic trick.
Right.
Because he's under part of the lie. Yeah. It's part of the lie. He's under the spell, like, all of that. So it's magic trick. It's not real. It's sparkly and is distracting, essentially. And Tia says you're becoming more like Mother. How can you be so ignorant? We don't know exactly what she was going to say here. But that's when he slams the table. And again, reacting violent, all of that. I
mean, it's less so, but his actions are violent and predatory and things like that in how he reacts to people around him.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we go to Ren and MJ. So Ren goes into this room, this hotel room or whatever. Cool. Oh my God. So
the flowers on the bed.
Ren on this journey, and we've talked about this before about how we can map every single one of these characters on like hero's journey type of stuff or heroine's journey stuff. He's going deeper into his inner feminine. Like he's diving deep into his subconscious and trying to find Gorya. He's doing the work that Tom is unable to do right now. Like he is diving. Like, I mean, Tom essentially did all of this for himself already, but Ren's doing it on a different level. He's getting to know himself, like what he cares about, what he finds sacred. And this room is like symbolic of it because it's covered in pinks and reds and flowers and just this really warm, like almost romantic
kind
I actually thought
it felt romantic. And even MJ is in pinks instead of purples. Like they're thinking of their king and their queen. Like that's what's going on.
Dude, MJ is even in, like, he's not wearing a lot of clothing in this. So it's like it's just more of that imagery of like we want them to be together. Like we want them to like be together.
Like we need Gorya back so that
she provides us the feminine energy that we need. Like
it's
really weird. Like because Gorya was not only
we needed our goddess to balance us out.
Yes,
just one goddess and her handmaiden balances us all out. Apparently. Yeah.
I also love that throughout all of this in the time jump, Hunning is consistently in her school uniform, which means that she has also sort of regressed. So she can't take the place of Gorya when Goya's gone. Like she's not in her typical like after school outfits. Like she's back in her school uniform the whole time as like a little girl again.
Little girl. With her little bow. And we see that they're both trying to find her and they won't admit it to each other that they miss her. Like that's part of it, right? But then we get this meteor shower, the Draconid meteor shower, which if it's named that, it's because it originates in the constellation Draco, i.e. the dragon.
Yeah. Well, so there is a Draconix. No. So the Draconix is the one they say. So they say Draconix.
Sorry.
Right? Yes. But that's not real. So there is a Draconid meteor shower. That takes place in October, and this is supposed to be June.
Yeah.
So they made this one up for the show.
Yeah.
Like they're saying
it can be seen. Yeah, they're saying they can see it anywhere in the world, which is not true. Like,
that would never be true.
You can't do that. Shout out to Subway Dates who pointed this out, which was great because it fits all of our snake and dragon symbolism that we're getting, which is like something that Rosalyn did will bring Gorya back. That is what is being said. Something that she did. And truthfully, to me, it's the revelation of the lie, because we see Ren instantly see that Gorya is not living at large with a big fat check full of money.
Yeah.
Right? He sees her schlepping fruit.
Yeah.
Right? She's not the person that she made herself out to be. So the lie is instantly revealed, which was from Rosalyn.
Yeah, exactly.
Rosalyn has brought back Gorya unintentionally, and she falls back into the Meteor Garden.
Yeah, because and again, like, because Rosalyn didn't, like you said, didn't have a plan when all this, because she didn't know.
She had no plan.
She didn't know that
she didn't think she was gonna. She didn't think the Death Feint was gonna work. Like,
yeah,
it was her like last ditch effort.
It really was. It really was. But it's so funny because, like, at that moment, like, Ren does actually wish upon the falling stars, right? Because they say it in like the media thing. They say like, "Oh, did you know?" Like,
speaking of beliefs, you can wish upon a falling star, and maybe your wish will come true.
Exactly. So, Hana and Ren, and that moment again, this goes back to like the fact that like the myth of Inanna, that these two kind of characters, these two figures are the only ones that are going to be able to like find her, and they both wish upon the stars in that moment, and that is when Ren sees her in the television. And this is how it happens, I think, in the manga. This is how it happens in like mini versions. They find her through some kind of kind of television program or something like that.
She's spotted when she's not expected to be spotted.
And then they go on to the next news story, which is that the economy is in a slump and the real estate boom is having a negative effect on agriculture, which goes back to something that's been really important from the beginning, but they haven't talked about it in a while. What happens in the sky affects the soil. Yes. Everything, like, it goes back to these myths of vengeful gods and how they affect whether or not we have a fruitful harvest. Like, this is literally that. Like, this is where so many of our myths come from. Things are not all right in the sky. That's why we don't have a fruitful harvest this year, or we have to sacrifice more next year
to the gods. Or we won't have a harvest because the gods control the weather, the everything.
Exactly. And this is literally like real estate is having a negative effect on agriculture.
It's not something that we would normally be like how
I mean, I probably
fairy tale
connect but it's very fairy tale. It's great. And I love it. I love it so much. But they say, these groups of farmers, they're suffering right now in this region. So that's when Ren figures out. Did you see the thread?
Yeah.
Did you see the thread about this region that at Loaded Tachos pointed out?
Loaded Tachos, all the good threads. I did see it. I didn't have a chance to read it before we were recording. So.
All right. I will summarize.
Sum it up.
I will summarize. I don't know how to say the region. It's like Fetcharburi. I don't know. This region of Thailand is where King Rama IV built an observatory into his palace there. And it's a palace on top of a hill, by the way. So he built an observatory there to satisfy his fascination with telescopes and astronomy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was here he famously watched a solar eclipse on August 18th, 1868, which I'm so glad she included the date. I don't know if that's ever going to be relevant, but it's there. And then I did some more digging. Basically, the palace here used to be used by, the Thai royal family, as that summary like suggests. It is no longer used by the royal family. It is now just kind of like this decrepit old museum. But they still follow certain protocols to respect the site and its royal heritage. So it's an abandoned palace with an observatory. That is where Gorya is.
And that's where her people are from.
Yeah, that's where her family's from. She's
really interesting.
She's an old queen.
Yeah, she's like from an ancient hidden royal line or something.
There's such a rich mythology on that. Oh my god.
Yeah, like Rama is like a common name for the kings of Thailand, and like it's Parama group.
Okay. It's like Paramanthana or something. It's like there's a longer name that they have.
Yeah, but
Rama
they shorten it
there.
to like
Rama.
Respectful Rama. Like P Rama.
That's really interesting. I wonder if any like Thai speakers can give us some more insight into that.
It's weird. It looks weird when it's written. I'm like, oh, that is the classic name of the kings. Like there's like so many Ramas.
Yeah.
In the royal line.
Yeah. And what I was gonna say too about like the fact that she's like the secret queen kind of thing. Like we've talked about this in the Star Bride stuff, right?
Yeah. If you are meant to be a Star Bride, you're already a star.
Yep.
Bride.
You've always been. Yep. You've always been royal, essentially.
Yeah.
So this
also ties to secret goddess stuff too, right? Like everybody, all women on this journey, this goddess journey, are actually a goddess on the inside. And they kind of discover it when they go back to their roots.
Exactly. And typically it'll just manifest itself in this trope of, oh, look, you actually come from this ancient line of royalty. And I'm not saying that's like a good trope. I'm just saying like this is the trope. This is how it manifests sometimes. So
storytelling shortcut.
Yeah, exactly. It's not happening here, but the roots of it are there.
And who knows? They could be like, oh yeah, you're from an ancient royal line. She'd be like, huh, that's interesting. Still picking up Durans.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't matter much to this story. But it does in some others. But anyways, so all right, so then
zoom in, which he realized that moment when he's like, oh, there she is.
That's why I kept it. I was just like, I just like it so much because they don't show her, they just show his reaction, and it's like I finally found her. Like I did it. He's so relieved to finally have found her. And we know that he doesn't go to her. He goes to Tom.
Well, because he always has to offer to, like, the thing is, like, in all of these versions, the secondary lead this is going to be important. The secondary lead always offers to the main lead to like go after her, and he refuses.
Yeah.
And then that sort of gives him his like not
opening.
An in, but like his like, well, then you never deserved her.
Exactly.
So there's going to be a question of whether Tom is actually ready to be with Gorya from Ren.
Yeah, it's going to be quick, but it's going to be important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we go to the boardroom meeting where Rosalyn is wearing yellow and
like a rose, and it's wrapped like rose-like.
It's
cool.
Her earrings kind of fade from like white to yellow, which I took that as like the fact that I don't know why I interpreted it like this, but I was like, oh, she's like burning up in the atmosphere, like, you know, falling kind of thing. But she's I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. I liked the idea of the harvest moon symbolism that Assassin Sage was talking about. It was kind of interesting, and the fact that like big things happen after, you know, harvest moons. So
right. Okay, so this business stuff that's happening.
We signed an MOU. That is a memorandum of understanding. I know what that stands for.
You gave us lots of money and we're just gonna take it.
Yeah,
that's basically like, okay, so essentially what they are is killing this company and taking everything from it.
Yeah,
like that's what's happening. And there's a lack of integrity and like honor that's happening here, because like in these sort of agreements you abide by them.
That's the point of them. Yeah.
Exactly.
But they're not contractually binding, but the point of an MOU is a respect for like each other's, like, we're not going to sign a contract because we trust each other.
And in bell hooks, the big thing that is missing from men who are under patriarchal culture, who are separated from their emotions, is they have no integrity. They haven't integrated their emotions.
Right.
And so this comes out as they will do one thing in one environment and they will do another thing in another environment. They are able to kind of transform themselves depending on the needs of the environment. They could be like, yes, I care about the environment, and then be in a company that destroys the environment. That's the kind of thing. Like he thinks he's being a good leader, but he's actually being a monster. Right? He's being Rosalyn's monster or a dog. Like he's at her command. Another really interesting thing is that he's wearing blue with a blue diamond tie because he's unwilling to act, and so he needs Ren to like show up and be like confront him. He's like calling out for Ren with his color. Like being like, hey, this is a bad situation. I need my buddy. But he's also like, diamonds, which is like stars, right?
I've learned this show does this thing where you'll see a character wearing an outfit and you'll be like, I don't understand how this fits this scene, and it's because it's not for that scene, it's for
the next one,
scene. So the fact that Ren shows up, you're like, oh, that's why.
He was calling out for him. And also like, being unable to act or like unwilling to act is also like a negative connotation with blue, or
like it's that depression and whatnot. Kind of just floating. And that's it does fit this scene in that way, because he looks to his mom. His mom at one point speaks up for him and says, no, this is what this is about. This is where we're at,
and your weakness was why we were able to take advantage of you. Again, bell hooks, weakness. Like the weakness, like your job as a dominator in a patriarchal culture is to control and dominate those that are weaker than you. So it was actually your fault. I took advantage of you.
Exactly. Yep, that's what it says. It's awful.
She's the worst.
She is the worst. So we
and
get
then
this great scene.
I freaked out when he started to wash his face, and then he was struck with all of these memories. Because again, water is related to getting rid of memories, i.e. the river life. And also water is about regaining memories, i.e. diving into your subconscious and dealing with things.
There's also a lot of reflection symbolism going on in this show, and this is what breaks Gawain out of his underworld, is when he sees the reflection, or he sees in the glass, he sees his memories in the glass, in the water.
And he was swimming when he was remembering, like his relationships of the past. And anyways, like, there's
water reflections are really important.
Glass mask stuff.
Glass mask.
He sees himself and he's like, oh, because I mean the water, and then they pull the scenes with the water, like both her coming to him, the start of her saying yes and then her saying no, like all together in the water. It's all tied.
Like I had so much hope, and then she threw it all back in my face.
Because water is fundamentally a fertility symbolism that you need to grow. And he's like, no, I don't.
He's stuck.
I don't want to grow. Growing is hard and it hurts. Okay.
It's funny because he's not even in anything that like represents him. Like even like the sparkly suit, like none of that is Tom. There's no animal symbolism. There's no
red.
It's all this fake, magic trick type of stuff. It's all a lie. And he knows that, and he has to face that for a split second and look at himself in the mirror.
Ren, I should have known that you showed up. were going to show up because all I had was blue shirts in my closet this morning.
Exactly. And Ren here, coincidentally, what is Ren wearing?
Only brown.
Oh no.
And white.
Oh,
He's
no.
wearing white pants.
He's wearing a pink shirt underneath.
He's wearing a pink shirt. I can't tell.
It's pink. It's pink.
Aww.
It's pink. So not only is it a pink shirt underneath his brown shirt, that brown shirt is leather.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. If you look.
Oh my God, they're like reversed.
Yeah.
He's like trying to remind him of his like who he truly is, and that his love is waiting for him somewhere.
Yeah. He's like,
oh my God,
I'm willing to be an animal to find her.
Yeah.
What have you been doing?
Yeah, look at you're wearing a blue shirt. You're stuck.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. You can see it there too. The more of that like kind of leather look.
Oh,
now.
let me see. Oh my God, it is.
Yeah. And
It's
the
like
pink shirt underneath. Yeah.
Ren, why are you dressed like Tom? Tom, why are you dressed like Ren?
Exactly. Like it's nuts.
I didn't even notice that.
I can't believe you didn't notice that.
Oh,
he also has these bracelets on, which calls back to the whole indie thing, you know, the fact that he's like been journeying around. He's almost like been like collecting these tokens of his journey, and he's like been growing himself in this way. So this is proof of it, like on his wrist. And now he's there showing Tom, like, what have you been doing? Like, you haven't been growing.
Her hair is like not in the sprout anymore at all.
No, it's in this half pony. Yeah.
And also like I think
full pony in the picture.
Full pony, like her hair is full.
I'm so excited to see what has been going on with her.
I know.
Like I am so excited. There's I think Noodle Doodle Huzaima, I don't know exactly how to say her name, on Twitter did a tweet thread about the canals and the symbolism about her making her way through this, and about the fact that these canals used to be all throughout Bangkok as well. These water canals, and they've obviously been since paved over into roads, because canals used to be roads for a lot of people in a lot
similar
of
to
areas.
Like Venice, right? Like for the West people here who it was
very and they move through the canals in a very similar way to like places like Venice. Like they move through with that pole and pushing themselves through the canal. Like this is
it's very underworld symbolism as well, with like the river Styx and like pushing your way through the river. Again, there's massive amounts of wild woman symbolism, because you need to go back to the forest, you need to go back to being moist, you need to go back to being dirty, to reclaim the bones of yourself, sing to them, and regrow your power. Absolutely.
There's
go back to the basics.
You have to go back to the basics. And this is so interesting because, you know, this is the land of her ancestors. So I don't know, like if anybody's ever seen like Your Name. In Your Name, there's a lot of symbolism with the fact that the girl makes the sake, and then like it's a part of her like ancestry, like they make sake, but then when you make sake, you have to add some of your actual spit to it. And then the guy in the future drinks the sake, so it's like this big like thing. Anyways, there's all of this symbolism tied up in like ancestral places. Like that's because the sake is placed in like a cave that belongs to her ancestors, and that's the only way that he finds it. So like if you know it, you know it. If you don't, I'm sorry, glaze over this. But the symbolism of her being back where her like ancestors are from, and like her family, it's not just her like immediate family, but like her line is from there. She is able to cultivate, she's able to create something, and maybe, cross your fingers, give something to Tom from this experience that he can eat and he can ingest and he can take inside of him to help him move on to the next part of his journey.
Because he needs energy right now because he's stuck.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really want to go into the Handless Maiden, but I think I'm going to save it for next time because it's just it ties really well into where she's at. And
there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about this week, but we don't know what we don't know what she's going through right now.
Yeah. And like the thing is about these archetypes is that like when characters plug into them, they're just plugging into like our own subconscious.
Right.
And it's a reflection of that. These stories are speaking to us because we're projecting ourselves onto them.
Yeah.
And sometimes a different archetype or a different perspective, because folklore and transformational storytelling changes over time. There might be a more correct analogy once we get to where she actually is.
Right.
Then we have to see how the creators kind of play it out. But I cannot believe how excited I am that A, she's in the middle of a forest, and B, she's on the water. Like
it couldn't have got better than that. And then it did.
It did. Yeah.
Because
and
of the pole and the boat and all of that.
Yeah. And she's like working too.
Yeah.
So like that's also so important. She's gardening, she's farming, she's got all of that. Yeah.
So good. Do we want to talk about speculation?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's look at the preview. There was some stuff that we didn't go into before that we can talk about now, because this is going to be spoilery talk. We're going to talk about the stuff that happens in the other versions that could potentially be spoilers for this version. So let's talk about it. Are we going to get a version of the bus scene? We talked about it last week, but where are you standing now?
Well, I was doubting we would get to Singapore. I don't know if she's actually going to go to Singapore or if they're just going to bring her. They're going to kidnap her too.
Yeah.
And just bring them together.
I agree. I think they're just going to kidnap
them. I don't think Gorya is going to be I don't think Gorya is going to be in Singapore. I just don't think so. Traditionally, Tom either comes and decides to come and see her, but decides not to interact. He just watches Ren and her from afar. The kidnapping is so interesting.
Yeah, we know that like from the previews that Ren goes to her physically, which means that Tom decided to not go. So he chooses to stay behind.
Sometimes he comes, but like he comes late and then sees them together and like decides he's like not worthy. But I don't know how much time they have to do stuff.
Yeah.
We do see that like people are mad at the Parama group. Like
there's a bunch of stuff that happens in the Hana Yori Dango version that leads up to kind of like the I don't know if it's stabbing in that one, but the amnesia plot, right? So there's like the village that gets mad at him. I have to actually rewatch it. I literally just read the synopsis today and I was like, oh my God, that's right. Like he goes to the village to find her, to get her, and then he's confronted by the people of the village and they like attack him or something. Yeah. And that's when because they're like upset at the group, at the company. And that's how we go into the amnesia plot. So I feel like we might get a version of that. We also might not, because the fact that the kidnapping is shown in the preview makes me think that it's going to be this combination of the kidnapping and the amnesia plot.
At least the start of the amnesia plot at the end of the episode, maybe.
Right. Like more like Meteor Garden 2018, like where they're
returning back together and he gets hurt. Yeah. And then we'll get into episode 16 and denouement, which I have been asking for.
Yeah, I think because this is perfect though. If they set it up this way, we could get the next episode provides that the the end of it could be like, I don't recognize you, right?
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
the final episode could be
resolution
maybe
of that and
the
denouement,
first 2 parts maybe could be the
well, we need
amnesia.
we need final resolution with
We need-
Rosalyn,
Right.
and we need atonement from Rosalyn, which is a lot. We probably are going to need some level of history, although I don't know how much history we need because all of the sins are what she's done to the world and to her son, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know that we'll get like her history of anything, because her history has been on display since the beginning of the show. Anything that she needs to be healed from.
You know what I just thought of too? So I've been thinking about this bus scene for so long. I'm like, I want this to happen so bad.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And they have bus history.
Yeah, it would be really great. I wonder if they're gonna combine the bus scene. Oh, but then I don't know how the kidnapping fits in. I'm just like, I don't know how this fits together. But I mean, I've been saying that this whole series, but
is that green car Tom's?
I don't know.
Did he buy a green car just to be like, green is your favorite color, Gorya?
Here I am with my green car. Maybe. I do know. You know what shirt she's wearing though? In most of these previews, she's
red.
That red shirt with the black rose on it.
Black rose, yeah.
Yeah. It's
my
like
love shirt. That's I love my dark monster.
Yeah, exactly. She's thinking about him in his monstrous state because she knows he's there, but she's not.
There's a shot of her looking at her phone. I wonder if she's looking at like his struggles. His struggles with we want like bad Parama, like the X signs and stuff. Like maybe she's like he's lost without me.
They're making it seem like, all right, my theory, they're making it seem like he gets kidnapped and that video is posted to show to Gorya. Like Gorya sees the video of him having been kidnapped.
I don't think that's
but hear me out.
Yeah.
This is all orchestrated by F4, just like it is in other versions. To get her to go to him.
They kidnap him they do in the airport.
Yes.
But then she comes to rescue him.
Right. Just because they know because Tom went to her when he got a picture of her having been kidnapped. So it happens in reverse and they orchestrate this so that she goes to him. And then I don't know. Oh, God,
so
it kills me.
So what
I feel like the
bus
scene has to happen. It's so bold. I think it might happen before that. Anyways, I don't know.
So when does the Ren scene happen where he's like, no? Because so Tom is gonna turn Ren down. That's for sure gonna happen. He's not gonna leave in that moment. Ren is gonna leave and go to Gorya. Then we get the beach scene with Gorya and her family. We're gonna get a bunch of background with like what she's been up to and how she's been growing.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the beach scene with her brother, her and Ren. Right? Tom could be there by then and left Singapore on his own, or he doesn't leave and he's kidnapped, and then they send Gorya. But I don't think we're getting a bus scene.
Or the bus scene happens,
and we just don't know,
and Tom
we've had 3 seconds of footage. Yeah, of course.
Tom is kidnapped after the bus scene.
Gorya is not going to Singapore. Can we agree on that?
Yeah. That's not happening. Okay. Yeah, I agree on that.
They're gonna be back in Bangkok somehow.
I just want to I want to throw whatever I have right now and just like watch it stick to the wall because like I have never been right about anything with this show. Like I've been right about like very cerebral, like big things.
We're right about the fact that the symbols were correct.
Yeah, the symbols are all like we're right about the symbols, but like I'm right about like the journeys. Like I'm like the I know
structure and the symbols. That's good, right?
But when it comes to plot, like you can count me out. I mean, I just saw something interesting.
What?
Okay, so top left one.
Yeah.
when she is running down, there's a red rope tied around one of the banisters at the very, very beginning after he yells Gorya, after her dad yells for her.
Yeah.
And she comes running. Look at the banister. There's a red rope tied around it. I don't know. This is like whatever.
Okay.
Red string of fate.
Yep.
Next episode's going to be rough.
It'll be great. And, you know, it's going to end it with him being stabbed.
Yeah, definitely.
Either being stabbed, or I think he's going to be stabbed and in the hospital. And then the next episode after that will start out with him having amnesia.
I agree.
It's such like, I literally think that's how Meteor Garden 2018 ended an episode.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it seems like,
so essentially, like, for those that are like, what are you talking about? Okay. All of the bad stuff that Rosalyn has been doing will have come to fruition, and literally some angry person will go after Tom
to get back at her,
to get back
and
at the company. Yeah. And he ends up in the hospital, and this is the impetus for all of the transformation and change, because her bad deeds have hurt him.
Yeah, exactly. This angry group that we see that's like protesting outside of the building or whatever, like that's typically where that's going to happen. With Meteor Garden 2018, it was like when they came back from the island, and like this group was like on the pier, and then somebody like stabbed him there. So, but we also got a fake out in Meteor Garden with the
amnesia. Yeah,
it was like fake out. He was like,
we had the starvation plot instead, right?
Yep.
Which was just as dramatic. But I mean, I think we're pretty sure we're getting the amnesia plot.
Yeah, we're pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
which they can do well, because they've done other plots that I'm like, about.
The amnesia plot is more like fairy tale. It's more like
he's woken up from a spell and can finally be himself, and is fully a man, and all of those lovely things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the what's going to make him remember her and them is going to be something really magical. And in the Hana Yori Dango, it was like, I don't know if it was exactly, she did bake him cookies, but I don't know if that's what actually woke him up from, I think it might've been
like in the Korean one, it was her lunch boxes that she made.
Yes.
Food, right? Like she feeds him, and he is able to.
I don't know what it's going to be in this one. I feel like it would be just the fact, like it could be, I feel like it could just be something so simple, like just the fact that he is like, you know, dominated by her. Like she gets on top of him.
We have that scene of her yelling at him that we haven't seen yet. And that could be what reminds him, because he has the same look on his face as when she kicked him and then was on top of him. And that could be enough. Like,
I think so.
But then I hope he grabs her and kisses her. Right? Because then that would be like the spell is broken kiss. But like from him to do.
Oh no,
like she's on top of him and he kisses her.
You're getting my hopes up. Oh no, if this doesn't happen, I'm gonna be so upset. Oh my god.
It would be dope. Then everybody be like, oh, that kiss.
It would be so magical.
Mm-hmm. Well, kisses are like spell breakers, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to be like her initiating the kiss, because that would be bad because he doesn't remember her. But if he suddenly remembers her and then kisses her, that's like a completion of their like, I know when to use what powers, and you're on top of me, but I'm kissing you stuff.
Yeah, it would kind of flip everything and make everything like suddenly very equal on both parts.
Yeah, because she's like dominating him, but he kisses her. Yeah.
Oh,
then they're equals.
I have an idea for a fic.
Yeah.
Regardless where this goes, I have a really good idea for a fic. That's really cool. I love that. All right.
Yes. This show, we said it at the beginning, I'll say it again. What is this show?
It's the coolest thing I've ever watched. That's what it is.
It just feels unreal. Like, I know that we're like witnessing it and like recording our thoughts as we go, but I'm like, how much effort,
Mm.
because so much of this is purposeful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's a lot. I mean, we know they had like 2 years. This has been going on, that they've been writing and producing and like prepping and like all this stuff. Like this has been going on for a long time. They're still editing for all we know. I mean, this is nuts. This is nuts. I'm shocked by it. I can't believe they had a lot baked in from the beginning. We can see the parts, and this will be really interesting kind of towards the like the very, very end when we talk about things after the fact, after things finished. We can go back and we can see the plot points that they maybe set up that they never.
Yeah, we'll be able to tell a lot more about what they maybe couldn't keep in because of time and stuff like that.
Point one,
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah.
Yep. The athletic scholarship.
We have some cool news.
Yeah. We're going to do an after show that is going to be on the week after the last episode airs. This is going to help us. It's going to give us enough time to put the things together that we need to put together. And it's going to air at the same time that F4 Thailand usually airs on Saturdays. So if you're in the Western Hemisphere, that is around 9:45 a.m. Eastern time. Or if you're on the other side of the world, that's going to be in the evening, around the same time in the evening.
And we're going to do it's going to be live. So we're going to interact with the audience in the chats and
yes, it's going to be
able to answer some questions. We've got some cool stuff we're working on.
Yeah.
We thought it would be a really fun thing to like celebrate the show, as well as to talk about some of the things we never got to talk about during the length of the show.
We want to talk about, we want to talk about all the stuff that didn't come to fruition. We also want to talk about all the couples and like their different journeys. We want to talk about the fandom. That's a big thing that we really want to do. We want to interact with the chat so that we can actually chat with people live. And people can get their like final thoughts out and we can all talk about it together. I think that's going to be really
bit of a celebration too of what we've all been through, because this has been a journey.
It's definitely
for all of us, right? And F4 obsessed and like the really cool community that's coming. Like we talked about how many people were like, that was cool analysis we saw on Twitter and like all the cool comments and everything. We want to celebrate this show with all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to get emotional if I think about it too hard. Like, honestly, that's, it's really hard for me. But yeah, like, honestly, just look out for the details on that. We're going to start promoting it a lot more, but that will be the Saturday following the last final episode. And hopefully you guys show up and just, come hang out with us on that. It's going to be really fun. We're obviously
the 16th.
The 16th. April 6th. Yeah.
April 16th.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. We have a special surprise for people that's being planned. So that's going to be premiering when we do the video. So please just join us for that. It's going to be really fun. And we're going to really celebrate like the fandom experience, I think, as much as we possibly can. So just look out for that. Look out for the details for that. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
so
fun.
Like what we can even do is before the last episode, we'll actually set it as scheduled live show, live stream, on your channel, and then you can just like set a notification or get a reminder for it, and then it'll like pop up if you've got reminders for Wit and Folly set on your phone. And of course we'll be tweeting it out as it's going to be happening, but we wanted to make it at a time where we can get like the most people from all over the world, and that includes Thailand.
Yeah.
some of our audiences in Thailand,
A lot of our audience is in Thailand, according to the stats. Yeah.
Philippines, North America, Europe will hopefully be able to get like as many people as possible time zone wise. So yeah, it is really early, especially for Pacific Coast folks. But we hope you won't mind this one time to be part of this experience and celebration.
Absolutely. And if you can't be there for it, when it is live, it is going to be available to watch later. You just won't be able to be a part of the live chat, but you will be able to kind of experience it after the fact with, you know, to see how everything happened and whatnot. So, but yeah, we'll be talking about this for a while. I'm really excited. Please let us know in the comments, as usual, what you thought of this episode. We probably already have, most of you. And yeah, just stick with us till the end because it's going to be really fun. Make sure you hit the notification bell for stuff like the show that we have coming up and for anything else that we might do randomly, special wise or whatever. And follow us on Twitter, obviously. Share the video on Twitter, share it on whatever social media platform you would like to share it on. Keep the hype up because it's worth it. It's going to be so much fun. So yeah, we're excited to be on this journey with you all, and we really appreciate that you've stuck with us this far. So thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.